Chapter 55. Hearing Wang Yu's words, the people of Sunset Villa were slightly stunned, and then became restless. There were only 2 people on the other side, and they had 27 people on their side. That Grandmaster of Combat actually threatened to kill all of them. If he wasn't fearless, then he must be out of his mind. Although Sunset Villa wasn't a large guild, the dozens of people in the guild all came from the same workshop. Normally, they mingled together and were very united. So, they were quite famous in Afterglow City. Now that they were provoked by a mere 2 people, how could they endure it? One after another, they pulled out their weapons, intending to kill Wang Yu and the other. The leader calmed himself down and asked, "Kid, you talk big. You're from that guild? Haven't you heard of me, North Sea Fish?" Seeing that the 2 of them were more arrogant than 200 people, North Sea Fish thought that Wang Yu was a high-ranking member of some big guild. She couldn't help but look down at the badge on Wang Yu's chest. Inyang Fish. What kind of SH*T guild was this? Wang Yu spread his hands. This was his first time playing an online game. Not to mention North Sea Fish, even if the 2 experts in the game, War God and War God, stood in front of Wang Yu would still be a loss. "You're North Sea Fish?" Li Shui exclaimed. Seeing that someone had heard of his name, and a pretty girl at that, North Sea Fish's eyes began to lust. "That's right, it's me." Wang Yu scratched his head and asked Li Shui, "What's wrong with North Sea Fish? Is he very good?" "Of course he is. Mercenary King North Sea Fish is very famous for his PK skills," Li Shui said. North Sea Fish was also a professional player. Different from the normal gold farming business, North Sea Fish never did what a proper professional player should do. What he did was PK for others. That's right, it was PK for others, taking money to eliminate disasters, which was the so-called assassin. It was an online game, after all. There was no lack of RMB players, and some RMB players were really noobs. They had top-tier equipment but still couldn't beat others. As a result, people like Biming Yu were born. Originally, it was better to keep a low profile for such a shady profession. But this Biming Yu was rather high profile. Every time she wanted to kill someone, she would notify the other party beforehand. She could be said to be the most arrogant assassin in the history of assassins. What was even more outrageous was that this kid had never failed once. So Biming Yu was also known as the king of mercenaries. Because this kid's PK skills were extremely high, no guild boss wanted to provoke such a person. As a result, the Sunset Villa could be considered a force in Sunset City. Li Shui was also a professional gamer, so she knew a thing or two about the most famous mercenary king. "Tisk, he's so good, but he doesn't even know Chuanjin." Wang Yu touched the badge on his chest. Those guys from Chuanjin, although they usually didn't look like much when mentioned on the street, even many ordinary players would say that they had heard of them. But this guy was so famous, yet he didn't even know the badge of Chuanjin. Li Shui said, "Biming Yu plays Western fantasy games, and Chuanjin plays wuxia games. It's normal that he hasn't seen the guild badge." "You're from Chuanjin?" Hearing Wang Yu introduce himself, Biming Yu was slightly stunned. She had long heard that there was such a lonely snow expert in the gaming circle. Biming Yu had been friends with him for a long time, but she didn't expect to meet one today. "That's right." Wang Yu nodded. "Haha, you're that guy from Shameless Guild." As soon as Wang Yu's voice fell, Biming Yu's companions behind her laughed out loud. Chuanjin provoked the entire server in an extremely arrogant manner, and then used an extremely despicable method to guard their base. Shameless Guild had already become their code name. Wang Yu smiled slightly and ignored those people. Instead, he stared at Biming Yu and asked, "I heard that your PK skills are very good?" Biming Yu smiled slightly and nodded. "That's right, you're really not humble." Wang Yu was stunned for a moment before smiling. "Of course, if I'm humble at this level, then how can others mingle in the game?" Biming Yu said in an extremely pretentious manner. "That's right." Wang Yu touched his chin. "Actually, I'm also very good." Biming Yu said, "Who doesn't know how to brag?" It seemed that Biming Yu didn't think that she was bragging. "Do you dare to compete?" Wang Yu admired Biming Yu's confident attitude. "How do we compete?" Biming Yu asked. Wang Yu said, "One-on-one. Whoever loses will voluntarily give up the mission." "How about that?" Bai Ming Yoyu laughed. You're very brave, but there are 27 of us and only 2 of you. What reason do you have for me to fight you one-on-one? This kid wasn't stupid, because I can't bear to see you guys lose experience. Wang Yu said. F***CK. Wang Yu's words ignited the anger of everyone in Sunset Villa. These people had followed Bai Ming Yoyu for so long that they had naturally seen what arrogance was. Who would have thought that they would meet someone even more arrogant today? I can't bear to see you guys lose experience. F***CK. He clearly knew that the person standing opposite him was the famous mercenary king in the game, and this kid still dared to say such words. All of you with just the word you included everyone, including Bai Ming Yoyu. What kind of arrogance was that? Old you, go up yourself. Show him what you're made of. Everyone shouted. Everyone thought that they were experts who cared about their reputation. If they swarmed up and killed Wang Yu, wouldn't that prove that they were afraid? You can look down on us, but we can also look down on you. To deal with people like you, one person is enough. Everyone thought in their hearts. Bai Ming Yoyu was also angered. F***CK. She had always been the one mocking others, but today she was being mocked by others. How could that do? She immediately took out her dagger and said, "It said that Xuanzhen's pretentious skills are top-notch, but the real skills are lackluster." I understand the first half of the sentence, but I don't know if the second half is true. Wang Yu hooked his finger at Bai Ming Yoyu. You'll know once you try. Bai Ming Yoyu glared at Wang Yu fiercely. Her figure became thin, and she disappeared into thin air. Wang Yu smiled slightly and thought, silly. She actually took the bait with such a low-level provocation. There's no justice in this world. Li Shui was dumbfounded again. What happened to a group fight? Why did it change to a one-on-one? Facing 27 people was no pressure for Wang Yu. The reason why Wang Yu provoked Bai Ming Yoyu was because of Li Shui. Now that the 2 of them were surrounded, and Li Shui was just a cleric without any combat power, Wang Yu could protect himself after a round of attacks, but Li Shui could not withstand it no matter what. It would be fine if his quest didn't fail after death, but if it failed after death, wouldn't it be stupid? So when Wang Yu heard that this was a 2-way quest, he had been thinking about how to ensure Li Shui's safety. Who knew that the people of Sunset Villa were so hot-tempered? They were provoked with just a few words. Chapter 56. The Thief class was a very popular class no matter what game it was in. Stealth, backstab, high burst, these are all the hallmarks of the Thief class. Whether it was PvP or PvE, they were terrifying existences. Imagine carrying a dagger at your waist and stabbing someone in the back that you didn't like. By the time they reacted, you would have already used stealth and quickness to escape. You could advance and retreat at will. You were shameless and powerful. It was exciting to play. With the current holographic simulation, there was no difference between the game world and the real world. The Thief class was even better at playing this class. Just stealth alone was enough to cause headaches for all classes. After all, in the early stages of the game, the advantages of other classes had yet to be revealed. The Thief had already learned their signature skills, let alone archers and mages. Even shield bearers and guardian knights, who were known for their high defense, couldn't withstand an assassin's burst combo at level 10. Before the appearance of anti-stealth skills, the Thief class was synonymous with invincibility. It was a stark contrast to the fighter class, the most undefeatable class at the current stage of the game versus the most useless class at the current stage of the game. The class advantage was obvious. With fighters' short arms and brittle skin, they probably couldn't even touch the thieves, but everyone present thought so, including Li Shui and Bai Ming Yoyu. After Bai Ming Yoyu went into stealth, she quickly returned behind Wang Yu. Wang Yu stood there motionless, like a wooden stake. Bai Ming Yoyu couldn't help but stab him in the back. At this moment, Wang Yu moved. He leaned to the side, and Bai Ming Yoyu's stab missed. Because Bai Ming Yoyu took the initiative to attack, her body also appeared in the air. How is this possible? Seeing her attack miss, Bai Ming Yoyu was shocked. She immediately activated quickness and quickly followed up with another stab. So fast, Wang Yu's eyes narrowed as he hurriedly dodged. The assassin was an agility-based class, and Bai Ming Yoyu focused on agility. Even if Wang Yu could see the trajectory of Bai Ming Yoyu's dagger, it would still take a lot of effort to dodge. Bai Ming Yoyu's saber brushed past Wang Yu's chest. The saber once again missed. Bai Ming Yoyu didn't wait for the saber to land. She stabbed backwards, stabbing towards Wang Yu's chest. Wang Yu moved to the side, his back pressed against Bai Ming Yoyu's arm. He flipped behind Bai Ming Yoyu and grabbed her shoulder. Bai Ming Yoyu was shocked again, subconsciously swinging her dagger backwards, aiming straight for Wang Yu's wrist. If it was a normal player, they would definitely take it head-on and then give Bai Ming Yoyu a knee strike. However, Wang Yu was a martial artist. His body instinctively sought luck and avoided danger. He immediately let go and kicked Bai Ming Yoyu's butt. Using the momentum, Bai Ming Yoyu rolled forward and disappeared into thin air once more. The surrounding people were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The two had only exchanged blows for an instant, but the level of danger had already exceeded everyone's imagination. Unlike these people who relied on their thick skin to throw knives, the two had only used backstab from the moment Bai Ming Yoyu appeared to the moment she disappeared. However, the technical content was definitely not something an ordinary person could comprehend. The people from Sunset Villa had been with Bai Ming Yoyu for a long time and had seen his killing techniques. He had always used stealth and backstab. It was simple and crude. So many people had the thought, if I had this set of equipment, I would do better than him. But this time, they finally understood the difference between them and Bai Ming Yoyu. They looked at Wang Yu with a hint of admiration. Bai Ming Yoyu was so amazing, but he had still kicked her. This person was clearly even more amazing. Wang Yu was also amazed by Bai Ming Yoyu. It wasn't because Bai Ming Yoyu was also using manual mode, but because of Bai Ming Yoyu's amazing reflexes. Wang Yu was a kung fu master. He could tell at a glance that Bai Ming Yoyu didn't have much of a foundation in kung fu. However, she changed her moves immediately after one missed, and every move was very effective in evading him. This kind of reflexes was completely comparable to a professional fighter. There was actually such a capable person in the game. No wonder she was the legendary #1 fighter. She really had some skills. If she was trained, she would probably become an expert in the future. With such great talent, she didn't practice martial arts but came to play games. What a waste of youth. Wang Yu shook his head and sighed. He didn't know if he was sad for Bai Ming Yoyu or sad for martial arts. Bai Ming Yoyu, who was in stealth, was even more amazed than Wang Yu. Whether it was a keyboard game or a game with the latest mode like Rebirth, Bai Ming Yoyu rarely had a match because of her outstanding reflexes. Now, she had encountered such a monster. Dodging the last 2 slashes was one thing, but she could even dodge the backstab while in stealth. This was a supernatural event. In the past, when she heard that Xuanjin was full of experts, Bai Ming Yoyu didn't quite believe it. Now she believed it. If any one of them was so strong, then wouldn't the others be? Standing silently in the air, Bai Ming Yoyu focused 120%, ready to stab Wang Yu again when he let his guard down. Unexpectedly, Wang Yu suddenly pointed at the position Bai Ming Yoyu occupied and said, "Stealth is useless against me. Come and fight me with real swords and guns." He's talking to me? Bai Ming Yoyu was slightly stunned. She hurriedly looked around to confirm that Wang Yu was talking to her. "Little brat, try and trick me? I won't fall for it." Thinking of this, Bai Ming Yoyu took a few steps to the side and prepared to stab Wang Yu in the back again. "Hey, you won't listen to me. Do you think I can't do anything if you don't show yourself?" Wang Yu muttered. He took out a bag of lime powder from his bag and threw it over. It hit Bai Ming Yoyu's face squarely. The smoke dissipated, and the white lime powder outlined a human silhouette. Seeing that Bai Ming Yoyu was really smashed out, everyone was dumbfounded. F***, he can really see. Everyone was surprised. "What? Do you still want to fight?" Seeing that Bai Ming Yoyu was standing there in a daze without saying a word, Wang Yu asked aloud. Wang Yu's words pulled Bai Ming Yoyu back from her surprise. "No, I admit defeat," Bai Ming Yoyu said indifferently. A thief's greatest reliance was stealth. A thief who lost stealth would lose more than half of their abilities. From the exchange, just now, Bai Ming Yoyu noticed the gap between the two of them. She knew that if she did not rely on stealth and only fought in close combat. She would not be a match for Wang Yu. You're very strong. I've never seen someone like you. Bai Ming Yu said in admiration. You too, Wang Yu said from the bottom of his heart. I hope to have a chance to fight with you again. Bai Ming Yu took a deep look at Wang Yu and said to her subordinates, Let's go. They're leaving just like that? There are more than 20 of us. Are we really going to give the mission to them? Everyone said at once. Let's give it to them. Isn't it just a mission? In our line of work, we pay attention to credibility. If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to lose. Bai Ming Yu said. Everyone had no choice but to put away their weapons. Let's go. Anyway, the mission is bosses. After a while, the people of Sunset Villa left. All right, go in and get the medicine. I'll wait for you here, Wang Yu said to Li Shui. Chapter 57. Old Tony was a pitiful old man. He hugged the Chinese knotweed and curled up in a corner, looking pitifully at Li Shui, who had come in to snatch the medicine. Li Shui couldn't bear to see old Tony like this. What's wrong? Can't you find it? Wang Yu asked, seeing that Li Shui hadn't come out for a long time. I found it. Li Shui gritted her teeth. She snatched the Chinese knotweed from old Tony's hands, threw down her only 2 gold coins, and left the house. Looking at the medicine in her hand, Li Shui couldn't believe that the final round of the two-way quest had been so easily passed. Back at the potion shop, Li Shui handed the Chinese knotweed to Yupasis. Yupasis was ecstatic. This is it. I can feel the magical power in this medicine. It can restore the youth of my hair. Wang Yu was petrified. He had fought so hard to get the medicine and key, but it was just to cure this guy's baldness. This NPC really knew how to play. After Yupasis put the Chinese knotweed away, he excitedly said to Li Shui, You really are a capable child. I was worried that I wouldn't have a successor, but after seeing you, I've decided to teach you everything I know. Are you willing to accept? Even an idiot could tell that he was about to give her a reward. At the same time, Li Shui received a notification. You have completed the hidden quest Old Alchemist's Wish. Quest rank A. Do you wish to accept Old Alchemist Yupas's inheritance? There was only one meaning to inheritance in Rebirth, and that was a hidden class. Accept. Li Shui hurriedly accepted, afraid that Yupas's would be angry at her if she was late. System notification. You have completed the hidden quest Old Alchemist's Wish. Rewarding 100,000 EXP. Obtain the hidden class Alchemist. Gathering skill increased to intermediate. Learn the skill Alchemy. Obtain beginner intelligence mixture recipe X1. Obtain beginner Titan mixture recipe X1. Obtain beginner wind mixture recipe X1. Obtain beginner iron mixture recipe X1. Gathering intermediate field gathering skill. 30% chance of gathering rare herbs. Alchemy, basic can refine beginner mixtures and intermediate recovery potions. With a golden flash, Li Shui rose to level 14, and Wang Yu also received quite a bit of experience. What award? Wang Yu was very curious about Li Shui's reward when he saw that he, who had helped in the fight, had received so much experience. Li Shui couldn't hide the joy on her face and happily said, Hidden profession alchemist, hidden class? Isn't it amazing? When Wang Yu heard that Li Shui had also obtained a hidden class, he asked with interest. Li Shui said, This is a hidden profession for lifestyles. It's incomparable to your combat system. Is that so? What's the use? Influenced by the people from Xuanzhen, in Wang Yu's eyes, Rebirth was a game that was mainly about fighting and killing. Life professions were not part of a proper occupation. In the future, I will be able to refine mixtures and intermediate recovery potions. Li Shui said excitedly, You don't know, right? If I'm not mistaken, I'm the only apothecary in the game that can refine potions and intermediate health potions. Potions were indispensable in the game. However, beginner potioneers could only make some beginner potions, and their effects were incomparable to the beginner recovery potions in the potion shop. Beginner potions could only be made by intermediate apothecaries, intermediate potions could only be made by advanced apothecaries, and, as for advanced health potions, only master apothecaries could make them. Although life professions weren't the main classes, it was difficult to gain proficiency. Even professional players from large guilds would need at least a month or two to reach the advanced level. Therefore, intermediate health potions were extremely valuable at this stage of the game. Mixtures were even more valuable. They increased attributes for a certain period of time, which was equivalent to a buff. The current stores only had beginner-level mixtures, and they were extremely expensive. However, they had to buy them, even if they were expensive. Regardless of whether it was during closed beta or at this stage of the game, no one had ever heard of players being able to make these things. As a professional player, Li Shui's skills could only be considered average. Originally, she could only muddle through the hardships of farming gold, but now she had suddenly become a unique technical talent. Therefore, this hidden life profession was more valuable to her than a combat profession. It's that amazing? Make one for me to see. Wang Yu also wanted to see the methods of this hidden life profession. Li Shui said, shamefully, mixtures require materials. Potions require recipes. Recipes? Yes, the current basic potions on the market are around 10 gold coins. There are basically no intermediate potions, Li Shui said. Hearing Li Shui's words, Wang Yu took out a torn piece of paper from his bag and waved it at Li Shui. Li Shui's eyes widened. Intermediate health potion. Where did you get it? Erdis gave it to me, Wang Yu said. Originally, Wang Yu thought that this thing wasn't worth much, so in order to express her noble character and unquestionable integrity, she deliberately took this prescription. Now that she heard Li Shui say this, she knew that she had picked up a treasure. At the same time, Wang Yu thought to himself, the people from Xuanjin are all old foxes. They definitely know the value of this recipe, but when they saw me take the recipe, they didn't show any signs of objection. These people are really interesting. I can't afford such a valuable item. Li Shui said in a panic. If it was anything else, it would be fine, but if this recipe was put on the market, it would cost at least 100 gold coins. With the current exchange rate, it was worth more than 100,000. No matter how close their relationship was, they wouldn't give it away. Unbeknownst to them, Wang Yu had given a place one's pride a skill book that was worth more than this recipe. What are you thinking? I'm selling it to you, Wang Yu said. Wang Yu only lacked life experience, but he wasn't an idiot. He wasn't rich. If he didn't know the value of this item, he would have given it away. Now that he knew, if he gave it away, wouldn't she think that he had ulterior motives? Under the same roof, it would be awkward to bump into each other. How much is the current market price? Wang Yu asked. 120 gold coins, Li Shui said. Wang Yu nodded and said, that's fine. An acquaintance's price is 100 gold coins. Li Shui was silent for a moment. I don't have that much money, Wang Yu said. It's fine, I'll just owe it for now. I'm not afraid of you running away. She had already changed from a brick mover to a high-end technical talent. How could she lack money in the future? Thank you, brother Yu. Li Shui nodded and took the recipe from Wang Yu's hand. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. I still have a quest. After handing the recipe to Li Shui, Wang Yu turned around and left the potion shop. Is there anyone still alive? Dungeon run? Everyone. After leaving the potion shop, Wang Yu shouted in the guild channel. Bao San and the others all replied, done. The dungeon runs once a day. I just finished. You didn't even respond when I called out to you in the guild channel. Do you know how hard it is to find 3 people at level 15? You're the #1 expert. Can't you do something serious? Chun Xiang said in a reproachful tone. Wang Yu flipped through the chat history. Someone did call him 40 minutes ago, but he was fighting for his life with Howard at that time, so he didn't have the time to check. I wonder if there's a party now. Wang Yu replied. He was still anxious to hand in the story for level 15, but he was almost level 18 now. Chun Xiang said, T. There are only so many people at level 15. You'll be early tomorrow. Speaking of which, what did you do just now? I helped someone with a quest. Girl. Where's the girl? Wuji popped up when he heard the word girl. Get lost. Everyone cursed in unison. Young man, if your wife finds out about you fooling around with another girl, won't she pull out your internet cable? You have to be careful, Chun Xiang said in a serious tone. Wang Yu said calmly, we live together. F***CK? Yo God, you must be an amazing cow. In Lao Air exclaimed. In today's society, it wasn't easy for a man to find a wife. Those who could find two wives were all amazing people. Those who could get the first wife and mistress to live in harmony were no longer human. They were gods. Mingdu sighed. Iron Ox can find two wives with that pathetic look. Why am I still single when I'm handsome and dashing? The heavens are unfair. What are you talking about? We're friends. Wang Yu finally understood what they meant and broke out in a cold sweat. TSK, TSK. You're already living together. Uncle Nyo, it's not that I want to criticize you, but you can't do this. To place one's pride also came out to educate Wang Yu. What does a kid know? Go away. Go play somewhere else. Wang Yu finally witnessed the Chuanjian people's groundless ability, so he immediately changed the topic. I obtained 2 books from a quest. Brother Chun, do you need them? Chun Xiang said, what books? You should know that I have very high standards. Don't try to fool me with trash. Chapter 58. Rare Poison Crafting Books. Seeing these 2 books, the channel was silent. After a long while, Chun Xiang asked, Damn, Brother Iron Ox, what kind of quest did you do? You actually got this? Poison crafting and rune crafting had always been the most lacking items in the market. Now, even an ordinary poison crafting could sell for 10 gold coins, let alone these 2 rare ones. One had to know that ordinary poison crafting could only produce low-grade poison sold in shops. Wang Yu's 2 books had poison and corrosion attributes, which were much stronger than ordinary poisons. Even if warlocks were extremely lacking, without 50 gold coins, one couldn't buy either of these books. I told you, I was helping a friend with a quest. Wang Yu said, then added, a hidden quest. Are you sure it's not your quest? Everyone complained. He was just helping with a quest, yet he got such good stuff. It was simply illogical. This doesn't seem to be a quest reward. I extorted it. Wang Yu told everyone about how he extorted Howard. Everyone, the others thought that they were already depraved enough, but now they were still working hard on swindling, while Wang Yu had already gone one step further and started extorting NPCs. Who would have thought that this guy was a newbie? Newbies nowadays were really amazing. The younger generation would surpass us in time. Chun Xiang pondered for a moment and said, These 2 books add up to at least 100 gold coins. I don't have that much money now. Wang Yu smiled and said, It's fine, I'll owe it for now. Okay, come to the tavern to trade. Chun Xiang was a little impatient. Okay. Wang Yu turned and entered the tavern. In the past, the tavern would be very quiet at this time, but it was very lively today. It seemed that many companies were on holiday today. Wang Yu found a place to sit first, and soon Chun Xiang hurried into the tavern. Brother Chun, over here. Wang Yu greeted Chun Xiang. Chun Xiang walked over and sat down, and Wang Yu handed him the book. Chun Xiang took the book and nodded. Continue playing, I'm going offline. Not going to chat. Wang Yu found it strange that Chun Xiang was in a hurry. This uncle was usually quite amiable. Next time, it's New Year's Eve. I have to have a reunion dinner with my wife and kids. They're all waiting for me, Chun Xiang said. Wang Yu was stunned. As the only 2 married people in Chuanjian, Wang Yu felt that he was lacking something compared to Chun Xiang. After Chun Xiang went offline, Wang Yu was stunned for a moment before she also logged out of the game. He looked at his watch. It was already 3 in the afternoon. It's already 3 o'clock. The restaurant's lunchtime is over. Why isn't Sister Xian back yet? Is she working overtime on New Year's Eve? The city that Wang Yu was in was located in the north. According to the local customs, they would have a reunion dinner together on New Year's Eve. Wang Yu's city was located in the north. According to the local custom, people had to have a reunion dinner on New Year's Eve. Seeing that Mu Zixin had yet to return, Wang Yu was a little worried. She mumbled to herself in bewilderment and reached out to take her jacket from the clothes rack. She decided to go and take a look. Wang Yu hadn't gone out for a few days. When she walked downstairs, she realized that the neighborhood was already decorated with lanterns. The trees in the green belt were also full of colorful lanterns. Although there weren't any firecrackers, it was still quite festive. The restaurant was at the entrance of the neighborhood. It was a few steps away. When Wang Yu came to the restaurant, he saw that it was chaotic inside. It seemed like something had happened, and his heart couldn't help but tighten. Inside the restaurant, A group of people who looked like hoodlums surrounded a table. In the middle, a young man with a head full of yellow hair was sitting at the table. He tugged at Mu Zixian's sleeves and cursed. "Damn it, stinking bitch, don't you have eyes? My new clothes cost a few thousand. Can you afford it? You were the one who tripped me." Mu Zixian's work clothes were half wet, and there were scratches on her hands. Although her face was pale, she didn't show any weakness. This lady didn't have the temperament to be bullied. "Damn, you still dare to talk back?" The yellow-haired man threw Mu Zixian's arm on the table and was about to get up to hit her. The restaurant owner, Old Yu, quickly stopped him. Brother Hui, little Mu is still young and insensible. Please forgive her. It's the new year. I'll pay for it, all right?" Brother Hui looked at Old Yu coldly and said with a contemptuous smile, "Old Yu, do you think I'm a scammer? Let me tell you, Brother Hui, I'm not that kind of person." Old Yu hurriedly said, I know. Brother Huey's style is obvious to all. We are all relying on Brother Huey's protection in this area. I am willing to pay for it," Brother Hui chuckled. "All right, Brother Hui, I'm a reasonable person. Since Old Yu said so, I can't say anything else. Otherwise, wouldn't I be a joke to the brothers in the underworld? How about this? My clothes cost 8,000 yuan. Round it up and treat it as compensation for mental damage." This. Old Yu looked a little awkward. After all, his restaurant's daily income was only a few thousand yuan. 10,000 yuan wasn't a small amount to him. "And you have an opinion?" No. Old Yu quickly smiled apologetically and said to the cashier behind him, "Shaoli, give Brother Hui 10,000 yuan." The cashier, Shaoli, quickly opened the cash register and counted the money. "Boss, you can't give him this money. He did it on purpose." Mu Zixian pointed at Brother Hui. Old Yu's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly tugged at Mu Zixian's clothes. "Don't talk. Old Yu had been doing business for so many years. How could he not know that Brother Hui was deliberately looking for trouble? Since trouble came to him, he just treated it as paying to avoid disaster." Brother Hui sneered and looked at Mu Zixian. "Yes, I did it on purpose. So what? I'll call the police." Mu Zixian saw that he was still so arrogant after doing something bad. She immediately took out her phone and was about to call the police. Brother Hui slapped Mu Zixian's phone away when he heard that. He looked at Mu Zixian and said angrily, "I gave you face, but you don't want it. Oh, this little girl's clothes are rustic, but she looks all right. Take her away." Old Yu said in shock, "Brother Hui, you can't do that. She's a local. She lives nearby. Her family will find trouble. If they find trouble, just say that Brother Hui took her away. It's just for fun. It won't break." Brother Hui reached out to touch Mu Zixian's face. At this moment, a big hand suddenly reached out from behind Mu Zixian. It grabbed Brother Huey's finger and twisted it to the back of his hand. Crack! There was the sound of bones breaking. Brother Huey's finger was broken. As the saying goes, 10 fingers are linked to the heart. Brother Hui screamed and knelt on the ground. "Hubby, why are you here?" Mu Zixian turned around and saw Wang Yu behind her. She shouted and tears flowed out. She was a woman after all. No matter how strong she was usually, it was inevitable that she would be afraid when she encountered such a thing. In order not to be a joke, Mu Zixian forced herself not to cry. Now that she saw Wang Yu, she could no longer hold it in. Wang Yu placed Mu Zixian's cold and stiff hand at his palm. He patted Mu Zixian's back with his other hand and said, "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Chapter 59. Mother of Asterisk beat him to death. Brother Hui was a local tyrant, and he had always been the one to bully others. No one had ever dared to bully him. Today, he wanted to come out and earn some money for the new year, but he actually suffered such a huge loss. How could he endure it? Thus, with a loud shout, he took out a dagger from his waist and stabbed at Wang Yu. Wang Yu protected Mu Zixian behind him and reached out to grab Brother Huey's wrist. With a twist, he pulled Brother Huey's arm behind his head, and his other hand immediately grabbed Brother Huey's elbow and pulled it back. Crack! Another terrifying sound of bones breaking rang out. Brother Huey's arm was forcefully broken from the shoulder, and it hung limply. In the blink of an eye, both of Brother Huey's arms were destroyed. When the onlookers heard Brother Huey's condition, they were all shocked. Wang Yu coldly stared at Brother Hui, who had fallen to the ground and was screaming in pain. There was no change in his expression. Wang Yu had been practicing martial arts since he was young, and it had already been 21 years. Because the Wang family had a rule that no one was allowed to use martial arts against ordinary people, in these 21 years, other than sparring, Wang Yu had only fought 3 times. The first time was 3 years ago, the second time was a few days ago, and the last time was this time. 2 times was for Mu Zixi, and the last time was for a righteous cause. Even if it was to punish evil and promote good, it was still against the ancestral teachings. If the family found out, they would definitely punish him severely. But this time, Wang Yu did not have the slightest hesitation. Now, Wang Yu only had Mu Zixi in his life. Even if he loved her, she was still his family. The two of them depended on each other, and although they were a poor couple, Mu Zixi never left him without any complaints. At this moment, if he could not even protect his only family, what was the point of practicing martial arts? Wang family? That was already in the past. At the same time, Brother Huey's underlings also stabbed over with their daggers. Wang Yu kicked away the dagger in the hands of the person in front of him, and his right palm struck out 3 times. Pa, pa, pa. At the same time, the 3 slaps rang out, and the 3 people were sent flying, smashing into a nearby dining table. Their heads tilted to one side, and they fainted. Kill that woman. Among Brother Huey's subordinates, a skinny man saw how fierce Wang Yu was and knew that he had met a tough opponent. Thus, he ordered his men to bypass Wang Yu and deal with Mu Zixi. Wang Yu's eyes were miraculous and accurate. His attacks were ruthless and steady. It was the first time in their lives that these hooligans had seen something like this. At this time, when they heard that they didn't have to fight to the death with this kind of person, they were naturally happy and immediately changed their direction. When Wang Yu heard this, his eyes turned cold. He stretched out his hand to stop the person at the front. When that person was stopped, he brandished his sword and slashed. Without saying a word, Wang Yu grabbed that person's wrist and pulled him down. That person was pushed to the ground with one hand, and Wang Yu took the opportunity to step on that person's elbow. Crack! That person's elbow, which was supporting himself on the ground, was directly stepped onto the side of his ear. Dislocating tendons and dislocating bones was a very ancient martial art. Now, it had been adapted and widely used in the military. It was called the joint technique. It lacked the fancy moves of martial arts and was easy to learn. It was rough and beautiful. The person who was responsible for adapting this martial art was Wang Yu's grandfather. As for this martial art, Wang Yu was familiar with it since he was young. He was even more adept at using it than the special forces in the military. The entire restaurant was filled with the sound of joints breaking. Other than the screams of pain, there was nothing else. Other than the skinny man just now, more than 10 hooligans were all on the ground in less than a minute. Everyone's arms were crippled. It wasn't dislocation, it was forcefully broken. Seeing how ruthless Wang Yu was, the skinny man was completely scared. He looked at Wang Yu in fear and said, Don't come over. If you come over, I'll call the police. Wang Yu smiled coldly. It's just for fun. It's not like you'll die. The skinny man screamed and turned to run. Wang Yu extended his leg and hooked it, tripping him. He then stepped on the skinny man's shoulder. How much strength did Wang Yu have? That skinny guy's physique was even weaker than a normal person's. How could such a person dare to be a hooligan? What was he thinking? How could he withstand Wang Yu's stomp? Everyone in the restaurant was dumbfounded. Was this the legendary Kung Fu? It was something that could only be seen in ancient action movies. Today, they were seeing it for real. Wang Yu looked around at everyone. Everyone was so scared that they retreated. F***CK. Is this guy addicted to fighting? Is he going to fight us? Everyone guessed. Wang Yu's ruthlessness just now inevitably caused fear in everyone's hearts. You won't call the police, right? Wang Yu asked. No. Everyone shook their heads. Humans were also animals. It was an animal's instinct to admire the strong. Seeing Wang Yu cleanly take care of the bad guy, if it wasn't for the fear in their hearts, they would have run over to take a photo with him. They wouldn't have called the police. Only the restaurant owner, Old Yu, had a bitter expression. He said, "Hero, how should I address you?" "Wang Yu, Mu Zixian's husband." Wang Yu said, "Hero Wang, you beat up Brother Hui. How am I going to open my restaurant in the future?" Old Yu was at a loss. This was reality. Honest people were afraid of offending evil people, but they were not afraid of offending those who helped them. Therefore, there were fewer and fewer people who would help when they saw injustice. The chivalrous spirit was also getting weaker. The chivalrous spirit that the author was talking about was not fighting at the slightest disagreement, but the spirit of being willing to help others. Children, don't misunderstand. This was also one of the reasons why the Wang family did not allow their own people to take action. Wang Yu glanced at Old Yu. The old man was in his 50s, and he really couldn't stand being tossed around. Therefore, Wang Yu walked to Brother Huey's side, pulled a jade pendant from his neck, and stuffed it into Brother Huey's mouth. "I came out in a hurry, so I didn't bring any money. This is for you. Don't come looking for trouble in the future, okay?" Brother Hui didn't dare to say no at this time. He kept the jade pendant in his mouth and nodded. Wang Yu stood up and said, "All right." He said he won't come in the future. If he dares to come in the future, just give me a call. I live nearby. "Ah, oh." Old Yu nodded blankly. "Let's go, wife." Wang Yu held Mu Zixian's hand and said, "It's messy outside. Don't come in the future." "But I haven't paid my salary yet," Mu Zixian said. After such a thing happened, Mu Zixian was too embarrassed to come even without Wang Yu's reminder. However, this woman was still thinking about the few hundred yuan in a silly manner. Old Yu quickly handed over the 10,000 yuan and said, "Here is your salary." Wang Yu smiled and took the money. He took out 5 bills and said, "A total of 5 days, 80 a day, a total of 400. You don't have any objections if I take an extra 100 for my wife as a bonus? No objections?" "Hero Wang, I have no objections, even if you take it all," Old Yu said in a hurry. Wang Yu didn't say anything. He reached out and handed the rest of the money back. He naturally knew that Old Yu didn't dare to have any objections, but in this way, wouldn't he become a person like Brother Hui? Outside the restaurant, Mu Zixian asked Wang Yu with some heartache, "Your jade pendant is worth a lot of money, right in?" Wang Yu said indifferently. The jade pendant was an item that all the Wang family members carried with them. Wang Yu had a high status in the Wang family, so the jade pendant he wore was worth a lot. How can that be? I have to get it back from them." When Mu Zixian heard that it was really worth a lot of money, she was immediately unhappy. "Forget it." Wang Yu pulled Mu Zixian back and said, "It's just a jade pendant. As long as I can be with you, I can give up anything." Mu Zixian smiled slightly. "You only know how to use flowery words. If I don't have a job, how can I buy New Year's goods without money?" Wang Yu chuckled and said, "Brother has it. TSK, how much money do you have? Is 1 million enough to keep you as a mistress?" "Really?" Mu Zixian said in surprise. Wang Yu said, "You can look at the card yourself." Mu Zixian exclaimed, "Ayaya, professional gamers can actually earn so much. It's tempting. Then let's play together. I'll buy you a set of equipment later." Wang Yu said, "What about now?" Chapter 60. When Wang Yu and his wife returned home with a lot of things, it was almost dark. If not for the hawkers in the market rushing home, Mu Zixian would have to haggle for another half an hour. When they returned home, they saw Li Shui and Meng Meng wearing masks and carrying a broom. They were covered in plastic bags and newspapers. They were busy like painters. This gave Wang Yu and his wife a shock. Mu Zixian said in surprise, "We were gone for a while, and you're already renovating the house." Li Shui walked over and took off her mask. "Sister-in-law, we are cleaning. Cleaning? Is there need to do this?" Wang Yu looked around the living room. Although Mu Zixian was usually busy with work, she loved cleanliness. She always kept the house neat and tidy. Li Shui blushed. Wang Yu tilted his head and glanced at the girl's bedroom. All right, it was time to clean up. The 4 girls were quite beautiful and were usually quite nimble. He could not tell that they had such bold and unrestrained lifestyles. Not to mention the takeout packaging all over the floor, the corner of the wall was filled with instant noodles. Student Ma Li was holding the wall with one hand and stepping on the trash that was already filled to the brim. It was almost the new year. If this continued, something bad would happen. Wang Yu had received a traditional education, so he was still a little superstitious. Looking at the four girls and then at his family, Wang Yu sighed. Girls who were not married were really different from married ones. It's time to clean up. Do you need help? Wang Yu said. Li Shui blushed. No, it's okay. It's not convenient for girls to have a room. Oh, Wang Yu nodded. He stuffed the groceries into the fridge and said with lingering fear, What a surprise! What a surprise! Mu Zixin pinched Wang Yu from behind and said, Professional players who don't go out for half a month are all like this. Without me, you would be worse off than the girls. Dear, you have worked hard, Wang Yu said, touched. When the girls finished cleaning up, Mu Zixin had already prepared dinner, dumplings, and a table full of dishes. Seeing the dishes on the table, the girls were extremely excited. As professional players, not only did they not clean the house, none of them knew how to cook. So, they usually ate takeout or instant noodles. Only when they came to Wang Yu's house could they occasionally improve their meals with the young couple. Everyone, let's eat. Mu Zixin placed the last basin of fish on the table and called out to the ladies, It's not easy for everyone to be away from home. You can't even go home on New Year's Eve. Let's have a reunion dinner here. Thank you, sister-in-law. The girls happily took their seats. Wang Yu asked in bewilderment, What time is it today? You're already offline. System maintenance, Li Shui said. Maintenance? Why are you protecting me again? How many days has it been under maintenance? Wang Yu was a little puzzled. Wang Yu had played the game for a long time and often hung out with the experts in Chuanjin. He had gained a lot of knowledge. He knew that the general system maintenance was either an upgrade or a patch to fill in the gaps. Rebirth was the leading game in the online gaming world, yet it was patched every other day. Wasn't this a joke? Mu Zixin smiled and said, This update is a mission for the Spring Festival event. Spring Festival event? Everyone was shocked. That's right, it's almost the Spring Festival, but there's no notice on the official website. Only after the update. Mu Zixin said. The girls nodded in understanding. Longting Company likes to play mysterious. By the way, sister-in-law, how did you know? Lord! All the women exclaimed in shock. And MBS. Mu Zixin said with a smile, You flatter me. I'm just a small customer service employee. My position is very low. As she spoke, she gestured with her thumb and index finger. He's also an existence that we can only dream of but not reach. The girl said, No matter how small a fly is, it's still meat. No matter how small the customer service is, it's still a god. After all, it's all part of the system. Sister-in-law, please share with us the strategy to explode the materials. Big Sister's mixture materials can't be found in the market. Mixture? The materials for the mixture are all collected in the dungeon. Just pay attention when you're in the dungeon, Mu Zixin said. Hey, that's not against the rules, right? Wang Yu quickly reminded her. No, our level is very low. What I know is already developed by the players, so the company has no restrictions on employees of our level. Otherwise, I can't even log into the game with my Longting employee ID, Mu Zixin said. Oh, Wang Yu nodded. Li Shui said gloomily, but there are too few people who can do the big dungeon. There are only a dozen people who are above level 15 in the entire server. The materials are too difficult to gather. Wang Yu said as he ate, We have 8 guilds. Everyone complained. Your guilds are all inhumane. I wanted to introduce you to our guild, but with your attitude, forget it. Wang Yu curled his lips. Those otakus were not as good-tempered as him. Don't, brother you. Molly hurriedly said, We're just joking with you. The Quanzhen sect was now very famous. Although it was negative, the experts in the sect were all real. With the protection of the Quanzhen sect, the studio would naturally have an easier time doing business. Most importantly, it was said that the people of the Quanzhen sect didn't lack money. Only by following successful people could one be more successful. Okay, I'll ask tomorrow, Wang Yu said. After the meal, the girls helped Mu Zixin clean up the dishes, and Wang Yu went back to the balcony alone to practice. After a round of punching and kicking, Wang Yu was surprised to find that his martial arts had improved Wang Yu immediately thought that it had something to do with the game. Wang Yu's life was still very monotonous. Other than practicing martial arts, playing games, and browsing the forum, the most he did was hug his wife and sleep. He practiced martial arts every day, but there was no obvious improvement. Browsing the forum would only make him more decadent. As for using yin to nourish yang, that was even more nonsensical. The only reasonable explanation was that fighting in the game increased a martial artist's perception. At Wang Yu's level, he was already at the peak of his martial arts. It was difficult to improve even an inch. He did not expect that after playing games for a few days, he would unknowingly become more refined than before. After thinking about it carefully, Wang Yu gradually figured out the reason. Due to the limitations of attributes in the game, he was basically fighting in a weakened state. That way, his perception of martial arts would improve even faster. It was said that ancient Chinese martial artists had a cultivation method of dispersing and reassembling. Wang Yu had thought that it was just a scam, but now that he thought about it, there was some scientific reasoning behind it. Thinking about this, Wang Yu stroked the game helmet and could not help but sigh. Technology makes people improve. A small game has such an effect. Maybe in a few years, traditional martial artists like us will really disappear. At the same time, in a small alley near Moonlight Bay, under the dim moonlight, a bunch of hooligans with their arms covered in plaster were lying on the ground. A petite girl with slender eyes was strangling Brother Huey's neck. Her other hand was grabbing the jade pendant on Brother Huey's neck. She asked coldly, "Tell me, where did you get this jade pendant?" "It's mine," Brother Huey stuttered. Tears were about to flow out. Brother Huey was suffering. He led a group of brothers and was beaten up by Wang Yu. He had just come out of the hospital and was about to go home for the little new year. Then, he met such a fiend who beat him up without saying anything. Seeing the girl's skills, Brother Huey knew that she was also trained. Even if their arms were intact, they would not be a match for her, let alone now that their arms were all disabled. Meeting two monsters in one day, Brother Huey wanted to jump into the lake and commit suicide. The kitchen god at home had not even complained to the heavens. Could it be someone else's kitchen god who did it? Oomph. The girl grabbed Brother Huey's disabled fingers and pulled them down, causing Brother Huey to howl. "You think you're fit to be called Wang Yu with that cowardly look of yours? Is there anyone in this world who can use the bone dislocation hand to hurt him? Tell me. Otherwise, if he can separate tendons and dislocate bones, I can urge tendons and break bones for you." I'll tell you, seeing that this girl might know Wang Yu and that she was even crueler than Wang Yu, Brother Huey hurriedly told the truth. "This was given to me by a big guy. The big guy's wife dirted my clothes, so he beat us up without any explanation and gave me this as compensation." Wife. A cold light flashed in the girl's slender eyes. "What's his wife's name?" "I heard from others that she's called Mu Zixin." Brother Hui thought for a while and said, "Oomph." The girl threw Brother Hui far away and shouted, "A bunch of scum, get lost." Brother Hui and the others felt as if they had been granted amnesty. They scrambled out of the alley. After Brother Hui and the others left, the girl took out her phone and dialed a number. "Chief Liu, I'm in your L City. Help me investigate someone called Mu Zixin." Yes, I got it. "Thank you, Chief Liu. I'll pay you a visit another day. Goodbye." Chapter 61. The next morning, after breakfast, the game maintenance was completed. Wang Yu opened the official website to look at the update. Indeed, as Mu Zixin said, there was a new spring festival mission. As for the details, he had to go to the game to accept the mission. The mission would start at 12 noon. Before the mission started, he could go to the dungeon first. Just as he was about to enter the game, there was a knock on the living room door. Coming. Just as Wang Yu was about to get up to open the door, Mu Zixin, who was washing the dishes in the kitchen, wiped her hands and ran out. When she opened the door, she saw a lady. The lady was holding a fruit basket in her hand. She was petite and well-proportioned. Her eyes were narrow and long, giving people the impression that she was smiling. Who are you looking for?" Mu Zixin asked curiously when she saw the unfamiliar lady. The lady smiled and pointed to the opposite door. "I'm not looking for anyone. I'm a new neighbor. Thank you for taking care of me in the future. As she said that, the lady handed over the fruit basket. This is just a small gift. Mu Zixin tilted her head and saw that the door was open. The lady seemed to have just come out. She felt relieved and took the fruit basket. It's nothing. A close neighbor is better than a distant relative. It's my duty to take care of you. Come in and have a seat. In. The lady nodded and followed Mu Zixin into the house. Please have a seat. I'll pour some tea for you. Hubby, there's a guest. Let's play later. Mu Zixin rushed into the bedroom while pouring tea. After the lady entered the house, she looked around and sat on the sofa. Is it just you and your husband living here? Mu Zixin said. The 2 bedrooms on the right are rented by 4 ladies. They belong to the gaming studio. Oh. The lady nodded. At this moment, Wang Yu came out of the bedroom. He looked at the lady blankly and asked softly, Who are you? The lady sized up Wang Yu and said with a smile, My name is Yang Na. You can call me Little Yang. Oh, Wang Yu nodded. I'm Wang Yu. Hello, Brother Wang, Yang Na replied. The 2 of them sat there and didn't speak anymore. It was very awkward. Well, I'll go get busy first. You guys chat. Seeing that Mu Zixin had returned, Wang Yu greeted the 2 of them and returned to his bedroom. Seeing Wang Yu leave in a hurry, Yang Na asked curiously, What does bro you do for a living? Sorry, I'm just busy. I'm just playing a game, Mu Zixin said. Rebirth. Mu Zixin nodded. This game is quite popular. Sister-in-law Wang, do you play it too? Yang Na asked again. Mu Zixin smiled and said, I was planning to go in and take a look. Don't tell me you want to play too? I'm the same as you, Sister Wang. I just started playing yesterday. I'll bring you along to level. Yang Na laughed. Sure, but don't look at me like this. Actually, my skills aren't bad. As a game customer service, Mu Zixin was quite confident. Then you can carry me. My name is Qingxue. We can add each other as friends in the game. All right. Mu Zixin smiled. It's getting late. I won't take up any more of your time. I'm still cooking on the stove. I'll come play again when I have time. Saying that, Yang Na stood up. All right, come play often in the future, Mu Zixin said. After Yang Na left, Mu Zixin happily returned to the bedroom. She saw Wang Yu sitting on the bed with a gloomy expression, full of worry. What's wrong, husband? Are you not feeling well? Nothing. Did the lady leave? Wang Yu asked. She's a pretty good person. Wang Yu glanced at the bedroom door and said, That lady is not an ordinary person. Don't interact with her in the future. Why? Her body is light and vigorous. Her breathing is even and long. Without more than 10 years of internal martial arts, it's impossible to reach her level. Wang Yu said, It can't be. She also knows martial arts? Mu Zixin was surprised. In Mu Zixin's impression, martial arts practitioners should be tall and mighty like the Wang family. Yang Na was short and thin. She didn't look like a martial arts practitioner at all. I can't be wrong. Besides, her surname is Yang. I suspect. If it doesn't work, let's move. Wang Yu said as his face turned gloomier. Mu Zixin smiled and said, There are many people with the surname Yang. Look at how scared you are. We're living well here. If we move, what about the house? Although there are many people with the surname Yang, there are too few people with strong martial arts. They won't dare to do anything to me. I'm just afraid that she will deal with you. Wang Yu said. Mu Zixin said, Don't worry. Miss Yang is very kind. She's definitely not that kind of person. I've always had a good eye for people. All right, it's best if you don't interact with her in the future. Wang Yu said. It wasn't easy to settle down. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Wang Yu didn't want to leave. I know. Mu Zixin patted Wang Yu's back and comforted him. I'll pay attention. AI. Wang Yu smiled bitterly and shook his head. He stroked Mu Zixin's head and said, Sister Xian, it's really hard for you to follow me. What hard? As long as I can be with you, I won't feel bitter. Mu Zixin said, Also, how many times have I told you not to call me Sister Xian? Wife. Wang Yu nodded and picked up the helmet. Let's play the game. I'll connect your equipment for you. After entering the game changed drastically. There were lanterns and streamers everywhere. It was covered with a layer of eye-catching china red. In this Western fantasy game, there was a different flavor to it. When Wang Yu went online, he received a private message from the people of Chuanjin. Hurry, come to the guild encampment. We're waiting for you. Oh, Wang Yu replied to them one by one. He walked out of the tavern and went to the teleportation circle in the city. He was directly sent to the meeting hall of the guild encampment. The guild encampment was also bright red. There were even 2 firecrackers at the entrance. There were even spring festival couplets pasted on the entrance. Walking into the meeting hall, everyone leaned on the table and looked at Wang Yu at the entrance with a face full of eagerness. What's up? So urgent? Playing 8 people mahjong? Play my ass. We're waiting for you to come back so we can split the money. Hurry up and come over. Mingdu slammed the table and shouted. He threw a grenade behind Wang Yu. F***CK. Are you looking for death, oldly? Wang Yu was shocked and hurriedly dodged. He rolled up his sleeves and walked towards Mingdu. Seeing this, Mingdu quickly gave up his seat and said to Wang Yu, Nyo Gu, please sit. After Wang Yu sat down, the 7 of them looked at famous Sword Daoshu eagerly. At the mention of splitting the money, Wang Yu remembered that he had bet 200 gold yesterday. Famous Sword Daoshu looked at everyone for a long time and did not move. F***CK, Daoshu, can you do it? Hurry up. Mingdu began to urge famous Sword Daoshu again. Famous Sword Daoshu chuckled. Let's see just how impatient you guys are. F***CK, famous Sword Daoshu, you should change your name to Despicable Daoshu. Mingdu cursed. They're all pretty despicable. F***CK, Brother Chun. Mingdu gritted his teeth. Huh. All right, I'll stop teasing you guys. Famous Sword Daoshu had enough fun and took out a large pile of money from his bag. To place one's pride's eyes widened when he saw the pile of money on the table. F***CK, this is the first time I've seen so much money. It's a pity that only one is yours. Famous Sword Daoshu smiled and took out a dagger. With a light flick, he tossed a gold coin to place one's pride. To place one's pride held the gold coin with a complicated expression. This is the first time I've won money. It's too memorable. I have to keep it. Gold coins changed numbers as soon as they entered his bag. He really did not know how this kid was going to keep it. Put it in his pocket. What if he lost it in a fight? Second bro, yours. Famous Sword Daoshu picked another one and tossed it to Yin Lao Air beside him. Yin Lao Air's expression became even more complicated. If I had known, I would have bet a few more gold coins. To place one's pride comforted him. Even a small fly is meat. At least you won one. Yin Lao Air said, I understand that, but I just don't understand how a bastard like Old Li could win 100 gold. It's the Sing generation, after all. 500 gold from Bao San, 500 from Wuji, 1,000 from Chun Xiang, and 1,000 from Dao Shui. There wasn't much money left on the table. Looking at the money on the table, and then at Wang Yu, everyone was depressed. 20,000 gold. Everyone was still fighting for a single gold coin. This kid, Wang Yu, almost caused a financial crisis in one go. Ha, it's all mine. Under everyone's jealous gazes, Wang Yu reached out and took the money. Famous Sword Daoshu took out another bag of money and said, that dark gold weapon has been sold for 240 gold. 30 gold for 8 people. When it was Wang Yu's turn, Wang Yu waved his hand generously. You can keep it for tea. A rich man with 20,000 gold was already the richest man in the game. He didn't care about the small amount. Nonsense. I didn't even want to give it to you. Famous Sword Daoshu looked at the upstart Wang Yu with disdain and put the last 30 gold into his bag. Chun Xiang counted out 100 gold coins from his bag and passed it to Wang Yu, saying, the money for the 2 books from yesterday. Wang Yu smiled and lowered his head to Chun Xiang, saying, keep this money. Just treat it as me giving the kids a red packet in advance. I really have to thank you for yesterday. Chun Xiang was confused. He didn't know what Wang Yu was thanking him for. He naturally didn't know that if he hadn't gone offline to accompany his wife and touched Wang Yu's heartstrings, Wang Yu wouldn't have gone to find Mu Zixian. If he had gone a little later, Mu Zixian might have suffered a loss. In Wang Yu's heart, Mu Zixian was much more important than money. After splitting the money, Wu Ji waved his hand and signaled for everyone to be quiet. He then said, the spring festival event will start in the afternoon. Shouldn't we do something now? Let's do a dungeon, Wang Yu suggested. He was the only one who hadn't done a dungeon before. Bao San said, we have 8 people. If we split into 2 teams, it'll be either 4 without 1 or 3 without 2. It won't be easy. What kind of lousy game is this? Can't 8 people do it together? Chapter 62. Elite Difficulty. That's a good suggestion. It's quite challenging. Everyone agreed after hearing Wuji's suggestion. This was probably because of this group of experts. If it was any other team, they would think that this suggestion was overestimating themselves. The dungeons in Rebirth were split into 5 difficulty modes: Normal, Elite, Abyss, Nightmare, and Hell. The dungeon monsters were not as easy to deal with as the wild monsters. The monsters in the dungeons were all at the elite level and were much stronger than the wild monsters of the same level. Therefore, even if it was a normal dungeon without a guide, it would take a few tries to clear it, let alone an elite dungeon. There was a huge difference between the holographic mode and the keyboard and mouse mode. In the holographic mode, the players would have to fight the monsters themselves. Not only did it test their reaction and skill control, but it also tested their psychological and combat qualities. It was easier for people who were good at fighting to get started. However, there weren't that many people who were good at fighting in the world. Therefore, most players would find it hard to adapt. After all, most people who liked to play games were otakus. They were good at piloting, but fighting was their natural weakness. This was also the reason why the Grandmaster of Combat didn't have an advantage. An inch longer, an inch stronger. For those without combat experience, they would only feel more confident if they had a weapon in their hands. They would feel more at ease when fighting monsters. To prevent losing players due to the difficulty of the game company lowered the stats of the wild monsters as much as possible to give the players some time to adapt. Even so, during the closed beta period, the experts in the game were being oppressed by the dungeon monsters. So, after the open beta, the game company decided to push the level 10 Scarlet Church dungeon to level 15. That way, it would be easier to clear. Based on the current situation, if they wanted to clear the elite dungeon, they would have to be around level 20 to have an 80% chance of success. Of course, for these level 10 players who dared to guard a guild encampment, challenging an elite dungeon was child's play. If they had enough manpower, they could even challenge a Hell Mode dungeon at level 15. Since the Scarlet Church was the first dungeon in Rebirth, the normal difficulty was set to be a 5-man dungeon. The elite difficulty was 5 to 10 people, and the Abyss difficulty was at least 10 people. There were more and more players at level 15. When the 8 of them formed a team and arrived at the entrance of the Scarlet Church, there were already many teams there. When they saw Chuanjin's team of 8 walking over from afar, many people were puzzled. This is a 5-man dungeon. How are 8 people going to clear it? Don't tell me they're trying to clear the elite dungeon. Someone asked after some thought. Are you kidding me? Yesterday, my brother and the others went to the Scarlet Church. They almost got wiped in normal difficulty. Isn't elite difficulty just asking for death? Someone said disdainfully, Tisk, just because your brother can't do it doesn't mean others can't. Bullsh asterisk T. My brother is a core member of the Blood Alliance. Their team is an elite team. Take a look at what guild these people belong to. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice and saw 8 people wearing the yin-yang fish badges on their chests. Among them, the yin-yang fish on the chest of a tall and strong Grandmaster of Combat looked like it was alive, glowing brightly. Holy shit, Chuanjin! When everyone saw that it was the 8 people from Chuanjin, they no longer had any doubts. This was a group of people who even dared to guard the base of their guild. It was completely reasonable for them to clear the elite dungeon. The younger brother of the Blood Alliance core member said in disdain, Tisk, Chuanjin, it's all fake. To be able to guard the base, they've become the biggest joke in Rebirth. The dungeon doesn't have any terrain for them to block the monsters. You can't say that. Tactics are also a part of one's strength. Tisk, in front of absolute strength, any tactics are useless. If you don't believe me, then just wait and see. We've already cleared the normal dungeon, so we have a basic understanding of the Scarlet Church. Later, tank, heal, and deal damage. Don't mess up the formation. Do you understand? Wuji said in the channel. Everyone said impatiently, We know, we know. Wuji, you're talking nonsense. We aren't newbies. Sir, I haven't cleared this dungeon before. What should I do later? Wang Yu raised his hand and asked. Everyone. There was a newbie here, but this newbie was a little special. You. Wuji scratched his head and said, Do whatever you want. As long as you don't lure the monsters over to trap us, you can do whatever you want. Wuji couldn't make any arrangements for someone who was obviously stronger than normal people. Okay. Wang Yu nodded his head. Let's enter. A white light flashed, and the 8 of them entered the Scarlet Church. System notification. Your team has opened the elite dungeon, Scarlet Church. Clear condition. Kill the fallen nun and Ariel. Failure condition. Team annihilation. After entering the Scarlet Church, the sky turned from day to night. The setting sun in the sky disappeared and was replaced by a blood-red full moon. The blood-red moonlight shone on this dark and gloomy cathedral, adding a bit of strangeness to it. In front of them was the courtyard of the cathedral. In the courtyard of the cathedral, there were 4 ash-gray skeletons. They were carrying knives and walking back and forth. In a corner of the wall, there were 4 big and sturdy dogs. From the quest description, Wang Yu found out that this church was originally called the Afterglow Church. It was the largest church in Yuhuicheng. It was where the citizens of the city believed in. When darkness descended, many citizens were worshipping here. The nun in the church, Anne Ariel, was corrupted by the power of darkness. She used the power of darkness to extract the citizens' souls and imprison their bodies. From then on, the holy Afterglow Church became a taboo place that the citizens of the city feared, the Scarlet Church. Daoxue, go open the door. Wuji ordered. When they were clearing the dungeon yesterday, Wuji realized that using the unlock skill to open the door of the church wouldn't alarm the dark demon hound guarding the door. Wuji, Baosan, and Chun Xiang had all participated in the inner dungeon. They knew that the Scarlet Church had 3 stages: the courtyard, the main hall, and the inner hall. There was a boss in each stage. The first boss, the one in the courtyard, was called Cerberus Gasol. This stupid dog only knew how to sleep. The condition to trigger him was to kill the 4 dark demon hounds guarding the door. Gasol was a type with high attack and speed. As a beast-type monster, it had 80% immunity to control skills. Not only that, but this Cerberus had also been baptized by darkness and was immune to 30% of magic attacks. In this way, only physical damage professions could deal with it. Chuanjin didn't have archers, and if Chun Xiang and Yin Lao Air couldn't tank it, they would be wiped out if they fought this beast in close combat. Therefore, for Chuanjin, this Gasol was even harder to deal with than the final boss, an Ariel. If they could go around it, they could save more than half of their energy. Daoxue walked up, took out a small stick, and stabbed it into the lock. Clack! The door opened. It was a thief's passive skill, unlock. If a thief couldn't even open a lock, then what the hell was he doing? Creak! The iron fence door opened, and the 4-legged skeleton smelled the scent of humans. It raised its blades and ran over. Attack! Wuji gave the order, and everyone got into formation, blocking the 4-legged skeleton's wild slashes. These people were all experts, and they wore the best equipment at the current stage. With a great expert like Wang Yu around, how could a few skeletons withstand their abuse? In the blink of an eye, the skeletons were smashed into pieces. Wang Yu didn't have enough. He looked around and saw the dark demon hound in the corner. He said happily, There are a few more here. Damn! Before Wuji could stop it, Wang Yu leaped over and kicked the darkness demonic hound's chin. The darkness demonic hound let out a miserable cry as it was kicked away. The rest of the darkness demonic hounds followed suit and stood up. Chapter 63. Dark Demonic Hound, LV-20, Elite 1000 Skills. Tear, Claw, Pounce. Dark Corrosion Dark Demonic Hound was an agile monster with high attack and low defense. Even an LV-20 Elite monster only had 10,000 HP. Without the full armor of the humanoid monsters, these monsters couldn't take Wang Yu's punches and kicks. Sidekick, Collapsing Fist, Choke. After a series of attacks, The dark demonic hound was on the verge of death. Wang Yu followed up with a chi wave, turning it into a corpse. Wu Ji and the others were dumbfounded. Damn, we're done for. Mingdu pointed at Wu Ji and scolded. It's all your fault. You let him do whatever he wanted. Now, Gasol in a normal dungeon is hard enough. Elite dungeons. Notice, you have been muted by team leader Wu Ji. F***CK. Mingdu was gloomy. What's wrong? Seeing his teammates' expressions, Wang Yu didn't understand. Only Wang Yu hadn't done this dungeon before, so he didn't know why they had to hide from the dark demonic hound. Spring said, awesome. Next time, use your brain before you fight, or ask us first. You'll wipe out the whole team if you just randomly start. What's going on? Wang Yu was confused. Weren't monsters supposed to be destroyed? Killing him would still deduct experience, right? Because the first boss isn't easy to fight. It's a waste of time. Three Bao explained to Wang Yu why they didn't fight Gasol. Wang Yu said thoughtfully, oh, I see. You mean you guys aren't as good as that dog? You guys. Everyone felt their pride being trampled on again. Even though it was true that they weren't as good as a dog, it didn't sound right. It's not that we're not as good, we're just too lazy to fight. Even if we win, we'll lose face, right? Wu Ji was thick-skinned and quibbled. Everyone agreed. Yes. Wu Ji is right. If a dog bites you, can you bite back at it? It seemed that none of them wanted to have a reputation of being inferior to a dog. Ha! Wang Yu laughed and said, are you stupid? This is a game. Why are you so serious? Even if it's a dog, it's at least a boss. It'll drop good stuff. Everyone wanted to cry, but had no tears. Damn it, just be serious first. Wu Ji said, all right. Since the monsters have been released, let's fight. Iron Ox, you have to pull the aggro of the boss. Don't let it attack us. All right, got it. Wang Yu shook his wrist and said confidently. As a martial artist, Wang Yu's greatest hobby was to challenge powerful creatures. With the 8 of them working together, the remaining 4 demon hounds were quickly killed. After the last dark demonic hound died, it turned into a black aura along with the other 3 dark demonic hounds' corpses and floated into the sky. Then, a dark aura surged from all directions, slowly forming a huge monster. The monster was on all 4s and was almost 2 meters tall. It had huge fangs, fiery eyes, and a snake-like tail. It was impossible to tell that it was a dog. Hellhound Gasol, LV-25, 5,000 skills. Bite Claw, Pounce, Dark Erosion, Bloodlust. Oh, there's actually a dog that looks like this. What breed is it? Wang Yu was shocked. It's probably skewered. Its head is like a wolf, its body is like a Tibetan Mastiff, and its claws are like a bulldog. To place one's pride said professionally. An expert. Wang Yu was even more shocked to be able to recognize a skewered dog like this. To place one's pride said proudly, I have a lot of dogs at home. Wu Ji interrupted the 2 of them, teasing the Grandmaster of Combat, and said, now is not the time to discuss the dog's breed. Iron Ox, do you have the confidence to hold it down? I'll give it a try. Wang Yu stretched his arms and legs and rushed forward. To be honest, this was the first time Wang Yu had seen such a big dog, and he was a little uncertain. But the bigger the dog, the more openings there were. Wang Yu understood this principle, and holding it down shouldn't be a problem. Roar! When Wang Yu rushed in front of Gasol, the dog finally finished forming and roared. It's you lowly! Bang! Dash 1173 before Gasol could finish his line. Wang Yu raised his leg and kicked Gasol's chin. This kick caused Gasol's head to tilt back, and he almost bit his tongue off. Ouch, sorry, I didn't know you could talk. Wang Yu said apologetically. Wang Yu was a martial arts practitioner, and the biggest taboo in a duel was a sneak attack. The 2 of them hadn't even exchanged any pleasantries, and Wang Yu had already kicked the other party. This was immoral, even if the other party was a dog. Seeing that it could talk, Wang Yu couldn't help but treat it as an opponent. Oh, whoa. Gasol didn't have as many rules as Wang Yu. His lines were forcibly interrupted, so he simply stopped speaking and swung his huge paw at Wang Yu's head. F***CK. Wang Yu was shocked by Gasol's speed. Gasol was an agility-type instance dungeon boss, and his speed wasn't any slower than a drugged Howard. That was why even though Wang Yu could see the trajectory of Gasol's claws, it would be extremely difficult for him to dodge. Left with no other choice, he could only deflect the force with a skillful block. Bang! The difference in strength between the two was too great. Even if Wang Yu used a block technique, he couldn't take this beast head-on. He was immediately sent flying by Gasol. Gasol's grab was a system skill, and it had a stun effect. In the air, Wang Yu couldn't find his balance, and could only let himself fall to the ground. He flipped backwards, stood up, and looked at his HP. Gasol's attack had taken away 60% of his HP. Everyone applauded, as expected of an expert. Even a lazy donkey can roll so easily. They weren't mocking him. It was a full simulation, after all. A normal person rolling naturally wouldn't be as elegant as a professional like Wang Yu. Stop messing around. This monster is so fierce. Chapter 64. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, pull some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and the votes will give you some coins. Gasol's magic immunity was 30%, and control immunity was 80%. Even though Mingdu and Chun Xiang were strong, they could only stun Gasol for a bit. After a while, Gasol roared and pounced in Wang Yu's direction. It's over. Chun Xiang's expression changed, and he commanded his imps to charge forward without a care for their lives. Gasol's attack was so high that even a shield warrior like Yin Lao too might not be able to handle it. Spring Source imps weren't a match for him at all, and Gasol killed them as soon as he landed on the ground. Everyone saw that Wang Yu was about to be bitten to death by Gasol, but Wang Yu bent over, rolled forward, and flipped under Gasol's stomach. He raised his hand and punched. This was where the game didn't make sense. After being hit by darkness corrosion, one's movement speed would decrease, but rolling wouldn't. Neither would one's attack speed. Gasol's attack missed. Wang Yu was nowhere to be seen, and he was looking around stupidly when he felt an attack under his stomach. Oh, angered, Gasol turned around and made a claw attack. Wang Yu flipped backwards and flipped under Gasol again, aiming for his soft abdomen. With a twist of her waist, she rose into the air, kicking Gasol's abdomen viciously with both her legs. Gasol's eyes widened. 1562 Wang Yu was playing manual mode. When he kicked Gasol's stomach, he used the side kick skill, which lifted both of Gasol's hind legs into the air. Wang Yu's set of punches wasn't just for show. It was called the lying ground punch, which focused on rolling, falling, kicking, and crashing. Don't be fooled by the tacky name, but it was a martial art that gathered all of its techniques. In ancient armies, infantry were at a great disadvantage against cavalry, so this set of martial arts was born. Relying on agility to attack the horse's stomach and avoid trampling, even though it couldn't be said that infantry could defy the heavens and kill cavalry, but it could ensure that casualties were kept to a minimum. Over time, the lying ground punch became one of the ancient Chinese boxing techniques that have been passed down to this day. Oh, Gasol roared angrily. His eyes turned red, and he activated bloodlust, extending his mouth to bite. Wang Yu flipped back again unhurriedly until he was below Gasol's neck. With his arms and left leg on the ground, he suddenly raised his right leg and did a backdrop vertical kick onto Gasol's soft jaw. Gasol's lower jaw was a vital point, and now it was lowering its head to bite down at an extremely fast speed. Wang Yu met it head-on. Everyone knew that there was a type of force known as artificial force, so Gasol received a lot of damage this way. 2173, a huge damage value floated above Gasol's head. F*CK. Is this guy even human? Seeing this scene, the people who were worried about Wang Yu's life and death were all stunned. Although Wang Yu had once challenged Erdis alone, that was completely different from this time. Erdis was a strength-type boss. His moves were slow, and he only had 3 axes. As long as you could see the start of his skills, you could dodge them. Even if you couldn't kill Erdis, you could at least hold him off for a while. This Hellhound was different. Not only was it fast, it also had a disgusting deceleration skill. After seeing Wang Yu get hit by darkness corrosion, he had thought that the kid was dead for sure. who knew that he would still be so energetic even after being decelerated by 80%. Uncle Neo is fighting the boss over there. It's not good for us to watch from here. To place one's pride, seeing how well Wang Yu was playing as a fighter, felt his blood boil, and was eager to give a try. In Lao Air frowned and said, "If we just go up like this, won't we OT shift aggro?" As a shield bearer, In Lao Air was a class that drew aggro the moment he attacked. Usually, what In Lao Air was most afraid of was boss hitting someone else, but now he was afraid that boss would hit himself. He felt rather conflicted. Wuji said, "Don't worry. Iron Ox's attack is so high, there won't be OT. Let's deal damage freely." As he spoke, Wuji took the lead and threw out a holy light orb. Holy light orbs were effective against dark creatures, so priests could also deal damage in this map. This was an instance dungeon that could let the healers feel proud and elated. Everyone received the order, and all sorts of skills were thrown at Gasol with all their might. Wuji was right. The one who dealt the highest damage to Gasol was Mingjian Daoxue. His set of skills only dealt less than 800 damage to Gasol, which was a far cry from Wang Yu's attack, which dealt over 1,000 damage. Wang Yu rolled to the east and rolled to the west, pulling the boss steadily. Everyone dealt damage freely until Gasol was dead. Gasol didn't even look at them. "Haha, it's over so easily. Yeah, I haven't even used my potions and mixtures yet. It's all thanks to Ox God. If it were me, I wouldn't have been able to pull it steadily." Seeing that they had killed Gasol with almost zero damage, everyone was still in disbelief. Joy hung on their faces, and they had completely forgotten the humiliation of being ignored by a dog. Wang Yu crawled up from the ground and stretched. He kicked Gasol on the ground and asked, "Why didn't he drop any equipment? Is there a quest?" Wang Yu had never fought an instance dungeon before, so he didn't know about instance dungeon bosses. He thought that he had encountered a storyline boss like Howard. Bao San explained, "The corpse of an instance dungeon boss doesn't disappear after it dies. Players have to loot it themselves. What they loot is completely up to luck." "Is that so?" "Interesting." Hearing this, Wang Yu crouched down and looted Gasol's corpse. Everyone was shocked. "Iron Ox, can you do it? If your luck isn't good, don't loot randomly." Wang Yu's hands were so fast that he had already looted the corpse while everyone was shouting. Seeing this, everyone was helpless and could only pray. Since ancient times, newbies have good luck. At this moment, Wang Yu's first equipment appeared. Hell's Fong, crossbow, bronze, attack, 25-37 magic, 0 to 56 agility bind, 10% chance of causing 60% speed reduction to the enemy. Class requirement, archer level requirement, 15-inch. Everyone was speechless. Apart from archers and knights, the 8 of them didn't lack anything, but they had only looted a crossbow. "What luck? Uncle Neo, can you do it? If you keep this up, I'm going to flip out." To place one's pride shouted. "Don't be so long-winded." After looting such trash, Wang Yu had lost face. He turned around and glared at the place one's pride and reached out to loot again. After a while, Wang Yu pulled out another spear. Everyone's hearts trembled, and they opened the spear's attributes. Hell's Spear, bronze, attack, 12-50 magic, 12 to 25 7 vitality, 6 strength darkness. When attacking, deal 10 points of darkness damage to the enemy. Class requirement, punishment knight level requirement, 15-inch F***CK. Everyone was immediately indignant. Famous Sword Daoxue said, "Iron Ox, can your luck be this bad? Do you see any archers or knights in our party? You want to be a professional player after looting something like this?" Wang Yu glared at famous Sword Daoxue again. "I'm rich now." Everyone was in tears. This guy had 20,000 gold on his waist, so he didn't lack money. But even if he didn't lack money, he couldn't be so unscrupulous. "There's still one last time. Loot it. After today, I'll deprive you of the right to loot the boss for life." Everyone helplessly shook their heads and said in despair. Sigh. Wang Yu also sighed. He rubbed his hands and reached over again. After a few fumbles, he took out a long rod. "Huh? What the F***CK is this?" Seeing Wang Yu take out a strange object, everyone was stunned by this big black hand. It was fine if he pulled out two weapons used by other classes. At least they were within the scope of the system. Even if he couldn't use them, he could still sell them for money. But what the hell was a staff? Among the 7 classes, was there anyone who used a staff? When Wang Yu saw the staff, he was slightly surprised and happily sent the attributes to the channel. Warrior's Persistence, Staff, Silver, Attack, 30-40 Magic, 20 to 307 Strength, 5 Agility Will. For every 10% health lost, physical and magic defense increases by 5%. Cooldown, 15ths. Class requirement, Martial Artist level requirement, 1-inch F *CK. It dropped silver, and it's a hidden class equipment. To place one's pride shouted. Scarlet Church was a LV 15 dungeon, and most of the equipment it dropped was steel and bronze. Even if it was a first kill reward, it should have been dropped by an Ariel. Why did it drop silver, and it was a martial artist equipment? Wasn't there a huge difference between a dog and a martial artist? This bull's hand is really... The others had mixed feelings. They had been unlucky for a long time, and it was really for their own use. It was a classic style of harming others to benefit oneself. The main attributes of the staff were not bad, and the 2 additional attributes were simply godly for tanking. It was such a good weapon, but it became a martial artist's exclusive use. It made people sigh. TSK. How much can this staff be worth? Wang Yu held the staff and played with it. The weight was suitable, and it was quite smooth. He then asked Famous Sword Dojo. Famous Sword Dojo said, although this staff is silver, it can't be sold for much. However, it's different in your hands. The market price is around 10 gold. This rod is only worth 10,000? Wang Yu was a little surprised. He remembered that he had earned a total of 200,000 from selling the 2 daggers to Mingjian Daoxue. Little did they know how popular the rogue profession was. Out of 10 people in Rebirth, at least 3 were rogues. The Grandmaster of Combat, which was a sewer profession, was not even a fraction of the rogue profession. The martial artist was even more unique. The 10,000 bucks was only because it was a rare commodity, and it was to make the best use of it. The market price of a thief silver dagger was more than 50 gold. For example, that stealth-enhanced dagger was the best of the best, which was why it was sold for a high price of 150,000. This staff may be a treasure to you, but to others, it's trash. It could be sold for 10 gold, but it's mainly a collector's item. Famous Sword Dojo said. Sai, what a waste. Wang Yu shook his head and put away the staff. He said to the others, let me loot the next boss again. I'll loot a martial artist hat, and we'll have a complete set. Everyone cursed. Get lost. Shameless. Chapter 65. P.S. Here's today's update, and, at the same time, pull up votes for Chidiant 515 Fan Festival. Everyone has 8 votes, and there'll be coins for voting. I'm begging for everyone's support. After looting the boss, everyone rested for a while. Just as they were about to enter the hall, they saw Chun Xiang squatting in the corner. He took out a small shovel and shoveled a few stalks of grass in the corner, then put them into his bag. Wang Yu chuckled and pretended to be knowledgeable. Brother Chun, you're a pharmacist. Are you digging these things to make a mixture? Mu Zixin said yesterday that there were herbs used to make a mixture in the instance dungeon, and Wang Yu learned and applied them. Mixture? Chun Xiang was slightly stunned. No. Then why are you digging these things? Wang Yu asked curiously. To make poison. Chun Xiang said, is there anyone who can make a mixture now? Oh. Wang Yu nodded in understanding, then said thoughtfully, oh yeah, I have a few friends who want to join us. Friends? Masters? Wu Ji asked Wang Yu. Everyone in Xuanjin was a master, so if there were people like Wang Yu who knew Kung Fu, he didn't mind how many came. Wang Yu shook his head and said no. The skills of the girls could only be said to be not too bad, and there was still a distance between them and masters. Wu Ji said awkwardly, Nyoga, it's not that I don't want to accept them. You know, with our Xuanjin style, if you don't have some skills, it's easy to run away. Okay, then I'll tell them. Wang Yu seemed to have expected this result, so he wasn't surprised. Them? Girls? Wuji's eyes widened. Yes. Actually, the number of people in Xuanzhen is too small. It's fine to recruit a few more people, Wuji said. Can you not F***CK? Wang Yu and the others were speechless. Bao San said, since she's Niu Ji's friend, she must have something special. She knows how to make mixtures. Wang Yu nodded. Potions. Everyone exclaimed. Is there such a subclass? Wang Yu said, hidden profession, alchemist. I helped her clear the quest yesterday. Now, not only can she make potions, she can also make intermediate health potions. Holy shit, you can even make intermediate health potions now? These people were all experts and naturally knew the value of intermediate health potions in the early stages of the game. Hence, they hurriedly said, bring him in, bring him in. Our Xuanzhen lacks such talents. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Wang Yu said with some surprise, yes, let's finish the dungeon. The second stage of the Scarlet Church was the Scarlet Hall. The monsters in the hall were gargoyles and dark bats. Gargoyle, LV-22, Elite 2000 skills, Stone Skin Protection, Flight Dark Bat, LV-22, Elite 5000 skills, Flight, Lifesteal. Both of these monsters could fly. The former had extremely high defense and stone skin protection, which was quite disgusting. The latter was extremely fast and could always lifesteal, which was quite annoying. Luckily, there weren't many of these monsters. After Wang Yu and the others cleared the monsters, they came to the second boss, the Fallen Priest. The Fallen Priest Dark David, LV-27, boss 50,000 skills, Summon, Dark Origin, Rebirth. This Dark David was a pure dark spell-type profession. Apart from summoning imps, he could also heal. When a priest became a Dark Warlock, their healing skills would become Dark Origin. However, they could only heal themselves. His attack power wasn't that great. The only difference between this and the normal dungeons was that in the Elite Dungeon, Dark David would use control skills and debuff spells one after another. It was like an enhanced version of Spring Sore. It was so disgusting that everyone cursed. Luckily, this guy was a cloth-armored humanoid monster. He didn't have high defense or vitality. After the 8 of them killed him twice, the second boss was considered to have cleared the dungeon. This time, the person who looted the corpse was famous Sword Dao Shua, who had always been quite lucky. Dark David generously gave them a Dark Warlock's rare skill book, Vitality Enhancement. This was a buff spell for Dark Warlock's imps. In the entire server, only Chun Xiang had the skill to summon imps. Without a doubt, this was also an exclusive skill book. After Chun Xiang received the skill book, he grinned from ear to ear. This was a skill book that Chun Xiang had coveted for a long time. He didn't expect it to drop in one go, as expected of a first clear. Seeing that the Dark Warlock-type Dark David had dropped a rare skill book, Mingdu's eyes turned red. He gripped his staff in excitement. The next boss, Anariel, was a mage-type monster. A first clear would definitely drop a mage-type item. After killing his way into the back hall and destroying all the zombie puppets in the back hall, a ball of flames roared as it drilled out of the ground. You damned fools! Why did you disturb Queen Andariel's peace? The flames dissipated, revealing Andariel's figure. Her hair was a mess, and her expression was ferocious. Anariel, LV-30, Boss 100000 skills. Hellfire, Fire, Arrow Frenzy, Queen of Hellform. As a nun chosen by the darkness at the prime of her life, Anariel was quite pretty. It was just that her clothes were a little weird. Rather than clothes, it would be better to say that it was her style, because other than a mosaic at the 3 points, this woman was basically naked. No wonder that brat, Jia Ao, had almost wiped them out. The visual effect was too impactful for a kid. Seeing Andariel's style, Wang Yu was dumbfounded. No way. Isn't this a little inappropriate for kids? A little, but I like it. Wuji rubbed his chin and said lecherously. The others nodded in agreement. Especially to place one's pride, his nose was about to bleed. How useless. Wang Yu looked at the group of perverts with disdain. Receive the wrath of the Queen of Darkness. While they were chatting, Anariel had already finished reciting her lines. With a wave of her hands, flames covered the sky as they shot towards them. Inlao Air took the lead, raising his shield to block the flames. Wuji followed up with a recovery spell, maintaining Inlao Air's health at 80%. The sky full of fire arrows lasted for a full 10 seconds, forcing everyone back. Ariel had no intention of stopping. Inlao Air was shocked. This is a little fierce. In a normal dungeon, 20 fire arrow frenzy would be enough. She must have shot 40 now. Nonsense. Elite dungeons are naturally fiercer than normal dungeons. Don't worry, this is an elite dungeon. She can only shoot 50 at most. Wuji said. As soon as Wuji finished speaking, Andariel's fire arrows stopped. Before they could catch their breath, they felt the ground heat up. Half of the back hall had turned into a sea of fire. What the F***CK? Inlao Air's shield couldn't defend against attacks from the ground. He cursed, raised his shield, and used charge to escape the sea of fire. The others followed suit. Snow used quickness, and to place one's pride, used collapsing fist. Chun Xiang was the most confident. Not only was distortion a powerful crowd control skill, it was also a magic immunity skill. There was no fire within the dark barrier. He used distortion to block the damage and walked out. Mingdu and Wuji, who didn't have movement skills, were in trouble. This was an area of effect skill. The two screamed in pain. Fortunately, Wang Yu jumped behind Wuji and kicked him away. He also used Cloud Grasp to fish out Mingdu. Otherwise, the two would have been burned to death. Damn it! Go to hell and receive endless torture. Seeing that everyone had escaped from the fiery area, Ariel let out a strange cry and once again shot a barrage of flame arrows at them. Wuji shouted as he healed everyone back to full health. Damn, these two skills have a long duration and short cooldown. If this goes on, we'll be burned to death sooner or later. If only we could interrupt her spell casting. Interrupt her casting? Wang Yu's eyes lit up. That's easy. Chapter 66. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, get some votes for Chidian's 515 Fan Festival. Everyone gets 8 votes, and you'll get some coins for voting. Easy? Are you kidding me? Wuji said. And Ariel is surrounded by flames. Melee classes won't be able to get close. And Ariel's Inferno has a burn effect. No matter how high your magic resist is, you won't be able to withstand the flames. Wuji had been standing in the Inferno for 2 seconds. He had already calculated that Andariel's flames could ignore magic resists burn damage. The first second would deal 40 damage, the second would deal 80 damage, the third would deal 120 damage, and so on. Wang Yu was only a level 17 Grandmaster of Combat, with less than 800 health points. If he couldn't finish off Ariel in 5 seconds, he would burn himself to death. Was it possible to finish off a dungeon boss in 5 seconds? Even if there was a possibility, the system would still delete Wang Yu, because she was definitely cheating. As they spoke, Andariel's fire arrows became sparser. Everyone knew that this shameless old woman was going to set fire again. Thinking back to the oldest game called Legend of Mir, they had once roasted pigs in the graveyard. Now that they were being roasted as pigs by a monster, it felt weird. Wang Yu smiled and took out his staff. To place one's pride, follow me. Me? To place one's pride was stunned. He couldn't believe that Wang Yu would ask him to help. Would he be able to help? Okay, come after the fire is extinguished. With that, Wang Yu held the staff in his hand and took 2 steps forward, dodging Andariel's last few fire arrows. He stabbed the staff into the fire, and with a push, he flew through the air. After Ariel finished firing, she waved her hand to set up another fire wall, but Wang Yu's legs were already in front of her. Bang! 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 Wang Yu kicked out 3 times in the air, landing on Andariel's face, chin, and chest. As expected of the big boss of 36E, his feet felt very soft. Ariel staggered backward from the kick, stars appearing above her head. When Wang Yu's second kick landed, he used the sidekick skill to create an effect. After all, Ariel was a boss. The 25-second stun time for monsters was less than a second for her. She recovered in less than a second. However, 1 second was more than enough for Wang Yu. Not only did it interrupt Andariel's skill, but it also allowed Wang Yu's left hand to grab Andariel's neck. Andariel's skin was so smooth. But that wasn't the point. The point was that choke could interrupt spellcasting. In theory, as long as Wang Yu didn't let go, the effect would continue. The moment Wang Yu grabbed Andariel's neck, the fire on the ground slowly dissipated. When Wang Yu flew to Andariel's side, the others understood Wang Yu's intention. As soon as the fire was extinguished, they surrounded Andariel and threw all sorts of skills at her. Wang Yu's other hand didn't stay idle either. Collapsing fist and chi wave greeted Andariel's face. The Chuanjin players were amazed. Only God knew why this guy was so perverted. Andariel was a beautiful girl, but instead of hitting her breasts, he hit her face. Andariel struggled with all her might, but she was a woman and a mage. Without her skills, she was like a tiger without claws and teeth. She was at the mercy of others. To place one's pride, connect. Choke was a continuous mana consumption skill. Wang Yu usually didn't bring any battle recovery potions with him. Even if his equipment had a mana regeneration passive, it couldn't last long. Wang Yu raised his leg and kicked Andariel again, stunning her again. To place one's pride, and Wang Yu switched positions and continued with choke. Andariel's close combat ability was terrible. Wang Yu, and to place one's pride, took turns to control her. After Wang Yu's sidekick came off cooldown, he would stun her from time to time. The rest of Chuanjin was having a good time dealing damage. Dungeons were a test of intelligence. Not only did they have to calculate the boss's HP and avoid the boss's skills, they also had to carefully control their damage output to avoid an OT. High-level dungeons had a low tolerance for mistakes. A single mistake could lead to a team wipe. However, it was different with Wang Yu. He was a natural at pulling aggro. No matter how strong the boss was, he wasn't afraid. Even though he didn't have a taunt skill, his high damage and powerful crowd control allowed him to toy with the boss in the palm of his hand. With Wang Yu, there was no need to worry about calculating HP, dodging skills, or controlling firepower. All he had to do was deal damage freely. Don't worry about aggro. Deal as much damage as you want. This was the dream of many tanks to show off, but it was accomplished by a short-handed fighter. As a shield warrior, Lao Air wanted to cry. Lao Air glared at Andariel. Whenever she reacted, he would immediately stun her with a shield bash to vent his frustration. Andariel was like a dead dog under the barrage of 2 stun skills and 2 interrupt skills. Her HP continued to drop as she was abused by the team. When Andariel's HP reached 30%, a golden light flashed across her body. She activated super armor. To place one's pride was sent flying. Wang Yu raised his hand to grab her with a knee strike. He wanted to interrupt Andariel's super armor, but Andariel was even more shameless. Just as Wang Yu was about to grab her, a green barrier suddenly rose around her. Poof! Wang Yu's grab missed. Andariel's body began to twitch and warp inside the barrier. Wu Ji quickly said, "It's about to transform. Everyone dodge." The others received the order and retreated one after another. Only Wang Yu was still stubbornly smashing the protective shield with a stick. Wang Yu, who had no experience in the game, naturally did not know that there was a state called invincibility. No matter how strong he was, he could not be stronger than the system. Chun Xiang shouted, "Stop smashing. Invincibility barrier, it can't be broken." That doesn't make sense. Wang Yu was depressed. Everyone was speechless. You're trying to reason with the system? Have you ever seen a wild skeleton dog drop money and weapons when dies? That's true. Wang Yu thought about it. It made sense. He threw Andariel down and turned to leave with his staff. Right at this time, a tremendous suction force firmly sucked Wang Yu in. Shameless human, you dare to run after hurting the great queen of hell? Face my wrath from hell. At the same time, a spider web descended from the sky. In a moment of desperation, Wang Yu activated Spectre and hit the ground with a chi wave. Using the recoil and the suction force, he dodged the spider web and flew back toward Andariel as if he had teleported. Seeing this, everyone cried out, "Iron Ox behind you! F***CK!" Hearing that, Wang Yu turned around abruptly. She was so shocked that she cursed. Was this still Anariel? How did the beautiful naked girl become so ugly? Andariel's long hair was gone, replaced by a head full of spikes. Her delicate face was covered in patterns, and she had 3 pairs of eyes. 2 huge teeth protruded from her cheeks. It was quite a scary sight. Even worse, a pair of arms and legs grew out of Andariel's torso. She was lying on the ground, grinning and staring at Wang Yu with 8 eyes. It was hard to tell if she was crying or laughing, but there was no kindness on her face. Chapter 67. P.S. Here's today's update. And, at the same time, get some votes for Chijian's 5/15 Fan Festival. Everyone gets 8 votes, and you'll get coins for voting. Please support me. Queen of Hell, Anariel, LV30, Boss 100000 skills. Poison Nova, Webbind. Queen's Command Wang Yu's guts were relatively big, but no matter how big a person's guts were, there was still a limit. Even if Wang Yu was a martial artist, seeing such a large monster for the first time, he could not help but be stunned. While Wang Yu was still in a daze, Anariel swung her claws down. Dodge! The spider form Andariel's attack is poisonous. Chun Xiang stepped forward and summoned Imp in front of Wang Yu. At the same time, he used Twist to freeze Anariel, who was attacking Wang Yu with her green claws. Wang Yu came back to his senses and rolled out of Andariel's attack range. After transforming into Queen of Hell, Anariel was no longer a humanoid monster. As a bestial boss, she didn't care about Chun Xiang's control at all. Whoosh! There was a soft sound. A circle of green light shot out from Andariel's body, and Chun Xiang's imp was instantly destroyed. Toxic Nova casts a toxic aura that deals continuous damage to surrounding enemy units. Other than Wang Yu, everyone else had cleared this dungeon before. As beta players, they had even cleared the Scarlet Church in Abyss mode. Naturally, they recognized Andariel's signature skill. It wasn't just an AoE skill, it was also a skill that dealt continuous damage to the entire screen. Find cover. Seeing the green light, Wuji instinctively gave the order. Everyone received the order and quickly hid behind a pillar in the back hall. Wang Yu was standing not far from Anariel. There was nothing in front of him or behind him, and there was nothing to block the poison nova. Wang Yu didn't panic. Just as the poison aura was about to hit him, he placed his staff on the ground, grabbed the top of the staff with both hands, and jumped up. He stood on top of the staff like a monkey, allowing the poison aura to float below him. What the heck? You can even do that. Seeing Wang Yu erect a dragonfly, the others suddenly felt that they couldn't figure out Wang Yu's tricks anymore. All the rules in the game seemed to have no effect on this person. No one would believe this. How could he avoid Toxic Nova without finding cover? What nonsense was that? Wang Yu, who had once again changed the players' views on the game, didn't stop after dodging the Toxic Nova. Instead, he jumped down from the sky, pulled back his rod with both hands, and smashed it hard on Andariel's head. When the others saw Wang Yu's action, they cheered for Wang Yu in their hearts. Take this, old cow Duong. 327 Andariel's head was covered in spiky armor. Wang Yu's strike only dealt 300 damage, and a -33 damage number appeared above her head. Huh? Wang Yu was puzzled again, and sent a question mark in the chat. Wuji said, my ass. This is called damage reflection. Hurry up and lure her over to us. Okay, Wang Yu replied. Holding his rod with one hand, he fiercely stabbed Andariel's chest a few times. Anariel was instantly enraged, and with a roar, she pounced over. Wang Yu didn't retreat, but instead advanced. Grabbing the rod with both hands, he extended it forward until it reached Andariel's body. Then, with a roar, he used the momentum of Andariel's charge and used Hidden Dragon Emerges from the water to fling Anariel into the middle of the hall. The other 7 players were behind the pillar in the middle of the hall. Anariel landed on the ground, and with a roar, everyone's bodies were involuntarily sucked towards her. They all cursed, Mother ***. I told you to lure her over, not throw her over. Even though they said that, their hands were not idle. As they dodged Andariel's 4 ugly claws, they threw out their strongest skills. This wave of attacks took away almost 3,000 HP from Anariel. Wang Yu also flew up and landed on Andariel's back, smashing down again and again with his rod. Fighters didn't have any rod skills, and pugilists could only use long rods. If they use a rod to activate a chi wave, it would be too much of a joke. That was why Wang Yu's attacks were all normal attacks. Even a normal attack could be used to great effect in the hands of Wang Yu in manual mode. This was because when using a normal attack with a rod at 120% skill completion, there would be an armor pierce effect. The armor on Andariel's back, damage reflection would occur when hit on the head, was shattered by Wang Yu's attacks. Anariel screamed in pain, and a spider web fell from the sky. Wang Yu somersaulted and jumped down from her back. The spider web trapped Anariel in the middle. Huh? Caught in a cocoon? Aren't spellcasters immune to crowd control? Just as everyone was wondering, they heard a whoosh. Anariel cast another toxic nova. Wang Yu is still standing upside down, and the dragonfly easily dodged it. The others didn't have Wang Yu's skill, and their heads turned green from the poison. Wuji healed them as if his life depended on it. This toxic nova actually reduced their HP by a percentage. Just now, they had almost been wiped out. Over here, after stabilizing their HP, Wuji pointed to the nearest pillar. Iron Ox, hold the boss. Second brother, cover the stun. We'll deal damage from behind. Cover and deal damage again. In Lao Air was about to break down. Speaking of which, it's fine if I'm a tank. It's fine if I'm a sub-tank for Brother Chun, but now I'm the sub-tank for Nyo Shun. I've always been second. Do you really need a shield warrior? Let me refresh. Everyone said, second brother. If you have to compete with Iron Ox, it's none of our business if you hurt your pride. With Warrior's persistence, Wang Yu finally solved the problem of not being able to fight an animal-type boss. Although the lying ground punch was very powerful, as a man, Wang Yu was still very conflicted about crawling between animals for no reason. At this time, Wang Yu was holding her staff and had the silly Anariel stuck beside a pillar. She blocked and counterattacked at the same time, pulling aggro steadily. It seemed that even without the help of others, killing Anariel was only a matter of time. The others continued to deal damage without any regard for the consequences. When Andariel's skills came off cooldown and she was about to unleash a skill, everyone would hide behind a pillar and be safe and sound. 20%, 15%, 5%, 1%. Finally, under everyone's attacks, Anariel became a corpse full of resentment. She returned to the naked nun, lying on the ground with her limbs facing the sky. Bosses were meant to be defeated by players. Who's going to do it? Wang Yu asked. Chun Xiang, and to place one's pride, fought to be the first to shout. Me, 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 me. Andariel's figure was very good. It was a rare benefit from the system. Brother Chun, how can you be like this? I'm still young. Can't you let me this once? To place one's pride had always been the boss, but now he took the initiative to use his age to gain sympathy. Chun Xiang pressed to place one's pride's head behind his back. Brat, don't you know what it means to respect the old and love the young? Aren't you King married? What do you know? After marriage, we should fight for opportunities. Chun Xiang said shamelessly. Wuji was furious and waved his staff. Shut up. As the leader, you should let me have this opportunity. Why? The two protested. Wuji said coldly, because I can kick you out of the party. The two shut their mouths. If they were kicked out of the party, they would have fought for nothing. In terms of shamelessness, Wuji was still better. At this time, Bao San slapped Wuji's shoulder. What the F*** are you touching? Wuji was still confused when he heard Wang Yu shout. Hellfire Wall, a rare skill. Can a Grandmaster of Combat use it? Yeah, I'm asking you. Old Li, why aren't you saying anything? F***. Wuji held his forehead and sighed. He had forgotten about this person who didn't play by the rules. Chapter 68. The first boss kill rewards were always generous. Anariel was no exception. Not only did she drop a rare skill book, Hellfire Wall, she also dropped a silver-grade Hellfire Plate Armor. Hellfire Plate Armor, silver, physical defense. 30-50 magic resistance, 30 to 507 vitality, 5 strength, 2 agility hellthorn. Passive skill has a chance to reflect 10% of damage. Source of life. Passive skill increases max HP by 220. Class requirement. Warrior, paladin level requirement. 15. This Hellfire Plate armor had good physical and magic resistance, and it also reflected damage. Since shield warriors specialized in heavy armor and Inlao Air had a set, this Hellfire Plate armor was given to Bao San. Hellfire Wall, rare skill. Summons Hellfire to burn the earth, dealing 170% magic damage. Also has a burning effect. Can be stacked. Although fire magic was the entry level of ice and thunder magic, fire magic damage wouldn't be outdated in the later stages of the game. Hellfire Wall was also an AoE skill. AoE skills were very valuable in Rebirth. It was a great tool for leveling. There was only one mage in the team, so this book was naturally thrown to Mingdu, who had a face full of desire. After Mingdu received the skill, he smiled. On the other hand, Wang Yu was confused. Why was Mingdu so quiet today? The team leader submitted the dungeon. With a flash of light, everyone was sent out of the dungeon. System notification. Your team has successfully cleared Scarlet Church Elite. Obtained 100,000 EXP and 1 Yu Huiqing honor. System notification. You have completed the dungeon quest Source of Chaos. Quest rank D. Cleared Scarlet Church on normal difficulty 1 to 1. Please go to the teacher to receive your reward. Seeing his experience bar jump, Wang Yu was shocked. So clearing a dungeon gives so much experience. Looking at the time, there were still 2 hours before the event started. Wuji said, "It's still early. Do you guys want to get a drink?" "Who the hell wants to drink with a shameless person like you? I'm going to level up. Call me later when the event starts." Mingdu left the party as soon as they exited the instance dungeon. At this time, he had a deep grudge against Wuji for banning him, but he couldn't wait to try out his new skills. "This old man has gathered enough herbs. I'm going to refine poison." Spring Xiang said, "I'll go to the market and see if there are any good skills and equipment." Other than Bao San, everyone else declined. Wuji's alcohol tolerance was not good. Not only did he get drunk the moment he touched alcohol, but he also liked to go back on his word. After a few times, the Chuanjin people had been cheated by him, and no one was willing to drink with him anymore. Wuji, seeing the crowd leave, Wang Yu walked over and shouted, "Niogu!" Wuji became excited. "You're going to treat me to a drink?" "Oh no. Do you want to go for a drink or two with me?" Wang Yu is now the richest person in the game. He wouldn't mind spending a few gold coins on some good wine, right? Wuji thought shamelessly. Wang Yu said, "I rarely drink. Give me the authority, I'll bring those girls in." Girls! Hearing this, Wuji's thoughts of drinking immediately disappeared. For him, the temptation of girls was obviously much stronger than wine. "And didn't we agree in the instance dungeon?" Wang Yu said. Wuji said righteously, "How could such a small matter require Nyogu to go personally?" "I'll go." "They don't know you." Wang Yu said, "Then all the more I should go. As the guild leader, I have to be respectful." Wuji said, "All right." Wang Yu nodded helplessly. Bao San said, "I'll go too." "You like girls too?" Wang Yu asked curiously. Bao San was speechless. "I'm not gay. I'm going because I'm worried about him." Bao San said as he pointed at Wuji. "TSK, TSK. Wang Yu shook his head. He had already said it like this, and he still said he wasn't gay. The girls were farming poison frogs at Sunset Lake, not far from the Scarlet Church. They were also gathering toad paste, alchemy ingredient. Since Sunset Lake and the Scarlet Church were separated by a level 20 leveling area, the girls couldn't cross. After receiving Wang Yu's message, the girls arranged for Wang Yu and the others to meet at Sunset Lake. Poison frogs were level 15 monsters. They weren't fast, and their attack wasn't high. However, their poison was a bit annoying. However, the girls had all classes, so it wasn't hard to farm them. At this moment, the girls suddenly saw a large group of people walking towards them. There were a total of 20 people. Li Shui had seen the person at the front before. He was called Blood Shura, and he was the top warrior of Blood Alliance. He was really strong. The others were not familiar, but they all had blood-colored badges on their chests. It seemed like they were from Blood Alliance. Seeing Li Shui and the others, Blood Shura wasn't surprised at all. He walked up and said, "Edelweiss, long time no see." Molly said in disgust, "Who wants to see you?" Because of what happened last time, the four girls had seen Blood Alliance's true colors. So, Li Shui didn't give them any face and completely broke off relations with Blood Alliance. From the looks of it, the Crimson Azura must have come prepared to find trouble on purpose. As the saying goes, enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. The girls wouldn't be nice to him. Oof. Blood Shura looked coldly at Molly and said to Li Shui, "I heard you guys have nowhere to go? That Iron Ox is so strong, but in the end, you guys still lost your jobs." Li Shui said indifferently, "Don't try to sow discord between us and Brother Wong. The game is so big and there's so many guilds. It's not like Blood Alliance is the only one." Blood Shura laughed arrogantly. Interesting. I want to see if there are any guilds that dare to take you guys in after leaving Blood Alliance." Upon hearing the Scarlet Shura's words, the ladies' faces darkened. Blood Shura was right. The previous incident had caused quite a stir. Although most people on the forums didn't know the cause of the incident, everyone in the guild circle knew about it. So, Li Shui and the others had been running into a wall ever since. They had interviewed for a few guilds, but even if they had reached an agreement, once they saw their IDs, they would immediately say that their guild was full. Even though Wang Yu had single-handedly defeated Blood Alliance, Rebirth was so popular that there were a lot of new players entering the game. In just a few days, this kind of thing went from a rumor to a legend, and then from a legend to a story. The game was like this. No matter how strong a person was, could he really beat a big guild? Subconsciously, everyone thought that the previous incident was because Blood Alliance was too lazy to bother with Wang Yu. After all, the Blood Alliance was the biggest guild in Yuhui City. Even their Blood Rose was one of the top guilds in the country. Just from a number of people in the guild, one could tell that the Quan Jin sect, which only had a few people, could not compare to them. Because of this, no guild in Yuhuicheng would offend Blood Alliance for a few useless gold collecting members. Li Shui said with a black face, "Whether or not there are any guilds taking them in is none of your business. If there's nothing else, please move aside and don't disturb our leveling." Haha, it seems like you still don't understand. The Bloody Shura suddenly grinned and said, "Do you think we came all the way here just to befriend you? Then what do you want?" The girls' faces tensed up, and they immediately became alert. Chapter 69. As soon as the Bloody Azura's voice fell, a skinny thief walked out from the crowd. As if he was trying to show off, this guy called Little Black did not even use stealth. He used quickness and rushed forward, stabbing Meng Meng. Meng Meng was a mage, so she had very little health. One stab took away almost 60% of her health. Seeing this, the other three quickly fought back. If this was a keyboard MMORPG, the girls might be able to put up a fight. However, this was a full simulation and the four girls weren't battle type. Their mechanics weren't even comparable to normal players. Furthermore, they were facing an elite expert from Blood Alliance, so they were forced to retreat. Li Shui hurriedly healed the girls so that the four of them would not be killed by the thief called Little Black. Seeing the thief's ease, he was probably toying with the four of them. Behind them was Sunset Lake. If they took another step back, the girls would fall in. The water beside the lake wasn't very deep, but it wasn't shallow either. Although it wasn't deep enough to drown, it was still quite humiliating to be forced into the water. Especially since female players in the game wore relatively revealing equipment. Getting their clothes, what was a favorite thing to do. There was no guarantee that the shameless Blood Azura had the same mentality. Molly had a fiery temper and was the strongest among the four of them. When she saw that she and the others were about to be pushed into the water, she immediately charged forward. Little Black was caught off guard and was hit. Molly turned around and was about to hit him with a heavy blow. Baibu, a few arrows were shot. Unsure if it was intentional or not, the arrows all hit Marie's, but the girl's face immediately turned red. Ha ha ha! The group of men laughed in fear. Female monsters were extremely rare in the game. Teasing a female NPC would result in their account being deleted. It was rare to have a chance to tease a girl. Bloody Shura, you beast! The girls all cursed. Such harmless words would only make this group of unscrupulous fellows even worse. Haha, this time we're shooting the butt. Guess where we're going to shoot? Haha, I'm going to kill you. Although Marie was an extrovert, she was usually a serious girl. She had never been humiliated like this before. In a rage, she raised her sword and rushed towards Bloody Shura's group. Let me. Seeing Mary rushing over, everyone was eager to give it a try. They all volunteered to teach this girl a lesson. The Crimson Shura said shamelessly, "This lady has obviously taken a fancy to me. Let me do it." As he spoke, the Crimson Cultivator lowered his head and charged forward. Although the Blood Shura's character was terrible, he was still a core member of the Blood Alliance. He was an elite amongst the elites. How could Molly be his opponent? In just one round, the Blood Shura hit her in the chest and sent her flying. Ha ha ha. Little girl, you're overestimating yourself. The Blood Shura laughed arrogantly and took a step forward. It raised its sword and slashed down at Molly's head. Clang! A sword suddenly stretched out, blocking the Blood Azura's great sword. Seeing that sword, the Bloody Shura felt that it was very familiar. It looked up and saw a guy with a fierce gaze staring at it. Bao San, the Bloody Shura cried out in shock. As an expert, the Bloody Shura obviously knew everyone in Chuanjin. When he raised his head to look at the lady, Xiaohei had already been lifted by Wang Yu and thrown into the Sunset Lake. Xiaohei struggled in the water and was just about to pop his head out when Wang Yu took out a rod and smashed him back in. Scum! Bao San slashed over and forced the Blood Shura back. Charge! Fatal Strike! Double Slash! Triple Slash! Players in manual mode use combo attacks when they PK. Under Bao San's combo, the Blood Shura had no time to fight back and was left with low health. Luckily, the other members of the Blood Alliance arrived in time and forced Bao San to retreat. Otherwise, the Blood Shura would have been killed. Bao San protected Ma Li behind him and blocked the members of the Blood Alliance. At this time, Wang Yu and the others had drowned Little Black and were walking over. The Blood Shura was protected behind them and was scared pale. Seeing Wang Yu walk over, it was even more panicked. Who is this? Why does he look so pretentious? A Blood Alliance player asked the Blood Shura in confusion. Chuanjin. Oh, that shameless guild. Everyone asked. Although these people were all experts from the elite teams, they were also new blood that had just been nurtured. They had heard of the Quan Zhun sect beating up the Blood Alliance, but they were still skeptical, so they didn't know how powerful the Quan Zhun sect was. The old players of the Blood Alliance naturally would not tell them about their embarrassing past. When they mentioned Chuanjin, they would say things like that guild only knows how to brag. Plus, everyone knew that Chuanjin guarded the guild's base and cheated. In the eyes of these new players, the people from Chuanjin were a bunch of trash. Ah yes, the Blood Shura was vague. The others did not know whether Chuanjin was strong or not. But how could he not know? The sword in Bao San's hand was snatched from him. Why would he say such things? It's just 3 people. I'll teach them a lesson. A warrior called Taowu White Rabbit said. Forget it, don't stoop to their level. Let's go back. The Blood Shura said. Taowu White Rabbit said very honestly, how can we do that? If we leave just like that, won't others be afraid of Chuanjin? This way, these trash will have even more material to brag about. The Blood Shura cursed in his heart. Damn, if I wasn't afraid of them, I would have taught them a lesson long ago. I don't need your nonsense. Do as you see fit. The Blood Shura was also full of helplessness towards such a young calf. The people from Chuanjin were all very skilled. Just Bao San alone was not someone who could be defeated in a 1v1. Moreover, that Grandmaster of Combat who was like a cheat had actually dared to say that he wanted to fight 1 against 3. Young people really did not know their limits. Hearing the Blood Shura say this, Taowu White Rabbit was not stupid. He walked over and blocked in front of Wang Yu. He said arrogantly, I heard that you guys boasted that Chuanjin is Yu Huiqing's #1 guild? Wu Ji corrected him. It's Rebirth's #1 guild, but it's not boasting. Starting today, it's not. Tao Wu White Rabbit said, and swung his sword towards Wuji's head. Bang! With a muffled sound, Tao Wu White Rabbit turned into a ball of white light. Wang Yu retracted his fist and asked Wuji, "Is this person sick?" "Perhaps," Wuji said. Instant kill. The people from Blood Alliance were all stunned. Because the advantages of their professions were not fully displayed, instant kill was not uncommon in the early stages of the game. However, at the moment, only Thunder Mages and Thieves could do this. Tao Wu White Rabbit was a warrior. A warrior with thick skin and flesh was actually instantly killed by a fighter in the sewers. This was something they could not accept no matter what. It was more like it was the other way around. The Blood Shura saw Wang Yu and the others walk over step by step. He was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. If it weren't for so many brothers watching, he would definitely turn around and run. Wuji walked over and pointed at the Blood Shura. "You're the boss, right?" "Yes, I am." The Blood Shura carefully put his sword into his pocket and walked out. He looked at Wang Yu and replied. Wuji said, "I heard that because these girls are from Blood Alliance, no other guilds dare to take them in." No such thing. What other guilds want to do has nothing to do with Blood Alliance." The Blood Shura hurriedly said. Wuji laughed. "Whether it has anything to do with you or not, from now on, these girls are Chuanjin's people. Blood Alliance, be more careful when you walk, understand?" Everyone heard this, and their expressions changed. They pointed at Wuji and said angrily, "You Chuanjin people are so arrogant." Chapter 70. Trash. When the Blood Alliance members heard this, they all exploded. "Bastard, tell me clearly, who are you calling trash?" He was a gamer. Normally, if you called him ugly or stupid, he wouldn't care. The only thing you couldn't say was that he wasn't good at games. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be friends. Moreover, not only was the person in front of them not a friend, he was also giving off a disgusting aura. Even Wang Yu was confused. Wuji didn't look bad, but why was he so annoying? Was there really such a thing as temperament? Do you even need to ask? Of course I'm talking about you guys. Is there something wrong with your IQ? Wuji raised his eyebrows and asked back. F***CK. Don't stop me, I want to kill him. The Blood Alliance members charged over, and the Blood Azura couldn't stop them at all. Wuji looked at Wang Yu and Bao San. Kill them. TSK. Wang Yu and Bao San twisted their necks and whistled in different directions. They weren't your underlings. If I killed them just because you told me to, I would lose so much face. F***CK. You two are messing with me? Wuji was shocked. The reason why he dared to mock Blood Alliance, apart from his arrogant personality, was mainly because he had Wang Yu and Bao San with him. At this moment, the two of them were arguing with each other. Wuji panicked. No matter how strong he was, no matter how good he was still a cleric with no fighting strength at all, Bao San said, since he was acting like a B***TCH. Even if I have to cry, I have to finish it. Just as Wuji and Bao San were bickering, the people from the Blood Alliance had already attacked. These people really hated Wuji from the bottom of their hearts. Even the archers and mages carried their weapons and ran over to fight him. Wuji was not a kung fu expert like Wang Yu, nor was he a combat professional like Bao San. All he could do was circle around Wang Yu. Wang Yu's body was huge, and he managed to block Wuji behind him. Seeing that they couldn't attack, the Blood Alliance members decided to attack Wang Yu as well. It was just 3 people. In their eyes, there was not much difference between 1 person and 3 people. Initially, Bloody Shura was quite optimistic when it saw that Wang Yu did not care about Wuji. The most annoying person in Chuanjin was their boss. If it could kill him today, it would not be a wasted trip. However, when it saw its subordinates attacking Wang Yu, its heart almost jumped out of its chest. F***CK. The Crimson Shura's heart tightened, and it almost turned to run. Facing their swords, Wang Yu easily dodged them. He stared at them and said, "Enough is enough. I am too lazy to kill you because of your boss. If you dare to take another step forward, don't blame me for being impolite." Why did Wang Yu have so much gold around his waist? It was all because of the 200 gold that Blood Red War Flag gave him. So, although Wang Yu did not like Blood Red War Flag, It was not his fault for taking it from them. Previously, he had agreed with Blood Red War Flag that if Blood Alliance did not find trouble with him, he would be merciful. However, if Blood Alliance found trouble, he is even crazier than the previous one. Kill him as well. The Blood Alliance members' fighting spirit was ignited. That useless priest just said that they were trash, but this Grandmaster of Combat actually said that he could kill them at any time. He could not take it. He definitely could not. Before he finished speaking, everyone slashed at him once more. Sigh. Wang Yu sighed. He suddenly took a step forward and cut to the front of the few warriors. His left hand pressed down on one of the warrior's shoulders, and his right hand grabbed the warrior's arm. With a pull and a lift, the warrior fell to the ground uncontrollably. After pressing the soldier down, Wang Yu stepped on his head and reached out to grab the other person's wrist. With a twist and a pull, the other person fell onto the body of the soldier. Then, she raised her leg and stepped on the back of the second person. This set of martial arts was called the 18 Stain Falls. It was a technique that specialized in grabbing and throwing opponents. Wang Yu had been immersed in this martial arts since he was young. Not to mention a group of normal players. Even a martial arts expert would not be able to withstand 3 or 2 of his moves. Wang Yu's attacks were swift and his movements were strange. In gaming terms, he was fast and had a high dodge rate. Every time he attacked, 2 or 3 people would fall to the ground and then be piled on top of each other like a human pyramid. This was to prevent the Blood Alliance members from getting up and fighting again. After all, the game relied on statistics. Otherwise, if a normal person was hit by the 18 Stain Falls, it would be impossible for them to stand up in a short amount of time. In a short while, Wang Yu's side was like a pyramid. There was a pile of people around him. Apart from the Blood Shura, the rest of the Blood Alliance members were all knocked down. Are you coming? Wang Yu pressed down on the pile of people with one hand and beckoned the Blood Shura with the other. The Blood Shura's face was pale, and he shook his head in a panic. No, what a joke. Fighting this pervert one-on-one was just asking for trouble. At least you know what's good for you. Wang Yu said, I won't argue with you because of the 200 gold from Blood Red War Flag. If there's a next time, I won't show any mercy. Do you understand? I understand. The Blood Red Azura nodded repeatedly. While Wang Yu was having fun throwing people around, the Blood Red Azura had already sworn that if he provoked the Chuanjin sect again, he would be a coward. Take your people and leave. With that, Wang Yu let go of the archer at the top of the pyramid. The people from Blood Alliance fell to the ground. Their expressions were blank and their eyes were deep. It was as if they were in a dream, but also as if they were enlightened. It was the same feeling as the Bird of Paradise that day. This time, they finally understood why Blood Red War Flag said that Chuanjin was a pile of trash in the guild every day, but Chuanjin was still doing well in Yuhuicheng. It wasn't until Wang Yu and the others were far away that the people from Blood Alliance came back to their senses. The archer said, if I hadn't been arrogant and fought in close combat, I wouldn't have been defeated by that person. The mage said, if I had made icicles from the start, I definitely wouldn't have allowed them to be so arrogant. The Blood Shura said, so Chuanjin is still not Blood Alliance's opponent. Everyone was silent. Actually, they all knew in their hearts that this was just an excuse for their failure, so that they wouldn't lose so badly. But who was stronger between Chuanjin and Blood Alliance? Was there a need to deliberately say that? Wang Yu and the others found a place without monsters to stop. Wang Yu pointed at Li Shui and introduced her to Wuji. This lady is the alchemist I mentioned. Her name is Edelweiss. It's an honor to meet you. Wuji quickly walked over and said in a gentlemanly manner, my name is Wuji. I'm the president of Chuanjin. The girl smiled, I know. First came Hongjun, then came heaven. Chuanjin's first challenge was to conquer the world. President Wuji's name is like thunder in my ears. Wuji chuckled. It's just an empty reputation, just an empty reputation. Wang Yu asked Bao San in confusion, what kind of story is this? Bao San was speechless. He's just bragging that he's invincible, F***CK. That works too? To dare shout such a shameless slogan. Wang Yu had a deeper understanding of Wuji's shamelessness. Sigh. Bao San shook his head and sighed helplessly. Seeing that Wuji and the girls were chatting happily, Wang Yu said, "You guys have fun. I'm going back." "Where are you going? Aren't you going to play with us?" Although Wuji said that, he sent a private message to Wang Yu. "You really have a good eye. Your salary will be doubled next month." The girls were more familiar with Wang Yu. If Wang Yu was there, they wouldn't be able to show their presence. Wang Yu smiled. "I'm here to submit a mission." At the same time, he nodded at the girls and turned to leave. Chapter 71. Back in the city, Wang Yu did not rush to submit his mission. Instead, he went to the consignment shop. The game would be open beta for a month, and it would only be officially launched after a month. That was when the currency exchange system would be opened. However, according to famous sword Daoxue, according to the game's tradition, even if the currency exchange system was opened, only RMB could be exchanged for game coins. Game coins could not be exchanged for RMB. It was like a scam in the traditional free-to-play online games. In that case, if Wang Yu wanted to get rid of his gold coins, he could only do so through consignment. In other games, if he wanted a consignment, he could only do so through some consignment website. However, Rebirth was jointly developed by many internet companies. Therefore, the game itself came with a consignment function. However, the processing fee was slightly higher, a full 10. Wang Yu could not do anything about it. Currently, gold coins were scarce in the early stages of the game, and the price was high. One gold coin could be sold for 1,000 yuan. Even if the system charged 10 yuan, there would still be 900 yuan in his account. As the number of players increased, the price of gold coins would become lower and lower. When the currency exchange day came, one gold coin might not even be able to sell for 100 yuan. After all, the official exchange rate was only this price. If it was as high as the official exchange rate, who would want your items? There was a processing fee when he arrived at the consignment shop. Wang Yu first bound his account, then took out 19,000 gold coins from his bag and put it up. Gaming was also a business that required spending. 1,000 gold coins was more than enough to cover his expenses in the game. Wang Yu put up this 19,000 gold coins for a week. It was such a large sum of money that no one would be able to digest it all at once. He could only take it slow. Otherwise, it would be too easy to become a millionaire. After the gold coins were put up for sale, Wang Yu went to the tavern to buy 2 bottles of alcohol. He put them in his bag and turned around to enter the dark and damp alley. Hermit was still as dispirited as ever. Wang Yu opened the bottle as usual, and only then did the guy turn around. He took the bottle and finished it in one gulp, wiped his mouth with his dirty sleeve, and asked, "Why are you here again?" This was a guy who could not hold back his fart while eating others. "I'm here to submit my mission," Wang Yu said. "Oh." Hermit narrowed his eyes and said, "What did you find?" "The power of darkness," said Wang Yu. "Did you bring it?" Hermit asked again. "Items?" Wang Yu was a little dazed. The quest didn't say that he had to bring anything. Hermit reminded, "It's something used by martial artists." This. Wang Yu took out a long rod from his bag. It was the warrior's persistence. Seeing the staff, Hermit's eyes lit up. He reached out and caught it. After taking a look at it, he threw it back in disgust. "Sai, your strength is still not enough. You can only get such trash." Wang Yu, trash. Was there trash that was worth 10,000 yuan? The hermit paused for a moment before continuing. "The real warrior's obsession is the war god's divine artifact. When darkness descended, it was stolen by the hateful hellhound. I've gone to hell several times to search for it, but to no avail. I thought you'd be able to satisfy me, but I didn't expect you to bring back a fake." "Hell?" Wang Yu was puzzled. "Where's hell? Are you willing to go to hell and help me retrieve the real warrior's persistence?" Hermit didn't answer Wang Yu's question. Instead, he gave Wang Yu a difficult problem. If this was in real life, Wang Yu would definitely ignore such an unreasonable person. However, this was a game. An unreasonable NPC represented a quest. As expected, as soon as Hermit finished speaking, Wang Yu received a notification. System notification. You have activated Legacy Journey Quest. Quest rank A. Do you accept? Accept. System notification. Legacy Journey. Go to hell and retrieve the artifact Warrior's Persistence. left behind by one of the 7 heroes, Lord Martial God. Warrior's persistence 0 to 1. After receiving the quest, Wang Yu looked at the staff in his hand again. There was a fake behind the silver. Speaking of which, where is hell? Wang Yu asked again. Hermit said, if I tell you everything, I won't be able to survive, Wang Yu threatened. Do you still want the staff? Hermit looked indifferent. I'm living well in the city. I don't have to go to the battlefield. I can't use that thing anyway. I can only give it to my only disciple. Psi, F***CK. Wang Yu really suspected that this old man was a real person in disguise. He actually turned the tables around. Wang Yu was helpless. He took out another bottle of wine from his bag and said, Teacher, I really don't know where hell is. Hermit took the wine with a smile and said, a place with the word hell in it. With hell? Wang Yu thought about it and said, Hell mode dungeon. Hee hee. I didn't say anything. Hermit nodded without saying anything. He hugged the wine bottle and gulped it down. Wang Yu was speechless again. Your disciple is weak. The monsters in hell are strong. I'm afraid I can't do it. After clearing the dungeon, Wang Yu understood the difficulty of the game. The monsters in the dungeon were all much stronger than him. There was a saying that one could defeat 10 with strength. No matter how strong his technique was, there was a limit. Silly child, I'm not asking you to go now. Take this and find the dwarf Simba at the blacksmith. He will increase your strength. Hermit took out a letter from his pocket and handed it to Wang Yu. Wang Yu took the letter. Hermit said, oh right, the clue to level up Fighter's Glory is also in hell. You might as well try to understand it. Got it. Wang Yu looked at the stupid ring on his hand. He stood up and gave Hermit a fist and palm salute. Then, teacher, I'll go back first. Go. Remember to bring me some food next time, Hermit said impatiently. System notification. You have completed the dungeon quest Source of Chaos. Quest rank D. Cleared Scarlet Church in above normal mode 0/1. Obtained 50,000 EXP. Fighter's Grip, Bronze, *1. Fighter's Grip, Bronze, Attack, 17-25 mana. 6-123 Agility, 2 Strength Perfection. Sidekick Skill, 1 Class Requirement. Fighter Level Requirement. 15. It was a very normal bronze equipment. It was probably a storyline equipment. It was like an old boxing glove that everyone had. It was better than nothing, so Wang Yu put it in his bag. After leaving the alley, Wang Yu came to the blacksmith shop. The blacksmith shop was also in the middle of the street. The blacksmith's weapon business was not very good, but this stall's business was unusually good. In the game, besides dropping equipment from bosses, one could also drop blueprints. With the blueprints and materials, one could forge equipment. Although the attributes of the forged equipment were better than those dropped by monsters of the same level, the highest the forged equipment could go was dark gold. Even so, the blacksmith subclass was still the first choice of the players in the game. After all, even if it was white equipment, it was still better than normal equipment dropped by monsters. If it was dark gold, wouldn't it be rich? After all, legendary and epic were rare items. Even in the later stages of the game, dark gold equipment was still the symbol of high-end players. Therefore, many players would train their forging skills in the blacksmith shop every day, hoping that one day they could forge the best and become a master blacksmith. This was also a different kind of pursuit. As far as the eye could see, there was a whole row of forging stalls in front of the blacksmith shop. None of the forging stalls were empty, and there were even people queuing up. Wang Yu squeezed into the blacksmith shop with great difficulty. After walking around, he did not see the NPC that Hermit mentioned. Dear customer, how may I be of service? The blacksmith's owner, Schindler, asked with a smile. Wang Yu said, I'm looking for Simba. I'm sorry, dear customer, the blacksmith shop does not have this item. You can go to the shop next door and ask. Schindler maintained his professional smile. It seemed like this guy was a low-level NPC with no intelligence. Chapter 72. Craftsman God. Simba. Isn't that Simba the Lion King? Wang Yu looked in the direction of the player's finger and saw a dirty old man curled up in the corner, hugging a bottle of wine and sleeping soundly. As expected of Hermit's friend. Apart from a difference in appearance, his style was almost the same. The same sloppy, The same drunkard. Sigh. Wang Yu sighed and helplessly left the blacksmith shop. He went to the tavern to buy a few bottles of wine, then unscrewed the cap of one of the bottles and placed it behind Simba. After a while, the snoring Simba opened his eyes. Seeing this scene, all the blacksmith players were stunned. They had been forging equipment here for a long time and naturally saw this sloppy beggar-like dwarf. This dwarf had been sleeping since the players forged equipment in the blacksmith shop. Other than occasionally waking up and saying that he was craftsman god Simba, he wouldn't say anything else. The players here were all blacksmiths. When they heard that this guy was the craftsman god, of course they wouldn't let him go, so they thought of many ways to get some information out of the dwarf. But this dwarf was like a dead man. No matter how they asked, he wouldn't speak. Who would have thought that the thing that lured him to speak was a bottle of wine? The blacksmith player who just spoke to Wang Yu said in disbelief, "No way. I bought wine yesterday and tried it. He didn't even pay attention to me." The person next to him mocked, "Don't embarrass yourself with that malt wine of yours. Look at what he gave you. It's 1 gold coin per bottle." The blacksmith player was speechless. In this period of time, gold coins were very valuable. Those who had gold coins were all high-end players. Which high-end player would put their mind on a blacksmith shop? The dwarf, Simba, opened his eyes and glanced at the bottle beside him. He reached out and grabbed it. Then, he raised the bottle and poured it into his mouth. The wine flowed down his long beard, which made Wang Yu sigh. This was too sarcastic. "Who are you?" After drinking, Simba asked Wang Yu in a muffled voice. Wang Yu took out Hermit's recommendation letter and handed it over. "My teacher asked me to come." After taking the letter, Simba glanced at it and was slightly stunned. "Martial artist? I haven't seen this profession in a long time. Tell me, what business do you have with me?" Wang Yu said, "Teacher said that you can help me improve my strength." Simba shook his melon-like head and said, "You know, my dear Arya left me, and I've been depressed for many years. I can't swing a hammer anymore." It seemed that this old man was also a sad man who was trapped by love. Wang Yu asked, "Then how can I help you?" "Give me another bottle of wine." Simba said, "Aren't you going to look for your AI, Leah?" Wang Yu was puzzled. His wife had already run away, yet he was still drinking. What was the point? Simba replied, "Arya is already the city lord's wife. Why would she want to see me? I really don't know how I'm not as good as that trash Willie. Too many." Wang Yu thought to herself, putting aside the difference in status between the Castellan and the blacksmith, just look at their appearances. The Castellan, Count Willie, was dignified and heroic, while Simba looked like a stray dog that had crawled out of a rubbish bin. How could they be compared? Then what about me improving my strength? Wang Yu didn't give him the wine. Seeing how drunk this guy was, he might be drowning his sorrows in alcohol and never wake up. "None of my business," Simba said as he rolled his eyes. As expected, this bastard didn't want to help at all. Luckily, he didn't give him the wine. "If you help me improve my strength, I'll give you this bottle of wine," Wang Yu said as he took out the wine. "Oomph." Simba looked at Wang Yu with disdain. "Do you think the great god of crafts is someone who can be easily bought?" "2 bottles," Wang Yu said. "You've 3 bottles. Okay, deal." Simba agreed decisively. Wang Yu wiped his sweat nervously. He knew that there wasn't an NPC that couldn't be settled with money. If there was, then he would add more money. The blacksmith player that spoke to Wang Yu was completely dumbfounded. Didn't they say that the great god of crafts wouldn't be easily bought? Wang Yu explained, "Not easily bought means that you have to spend a lot of money to buy him. 3 gold coins. The blacksmith player was immediately dumbfounded. The waters of this game were too deep. Wang Yu placed 3 bottles of wine in front of Simba and said respectfully, "Teacher Simba, can we begin?" Simba was stunned. "I don't know how to fight." Then how are you going to help me improve my strength?" Wang Yu suddenly felt like he had been tricked. Simba said somewhat impatiently, "Give me your weapon. I can help you level up." "Level up?" "That's right. The glove in your hand should be the legendary warrior's sai, right?" Simba asked. "Yes, that's right. The warrior's sai is a spiritual artifact, but when a martial god fell, its spirituality dissipated and it became a normal weapon. But fortunately, it still has the ability to level up. As long as you have a good sacrifice, I can increase its strength. Simba said. Wang Yu scratched his head and asked, sacrifice? What's that? Simba said, a weapon that isn't lower than this glove's grade. Oh, I see. Wang Yu was a little hesitant. A weapon that wasn't lower than this glove's grade was silver equipment. Currently, silver equipment was still very rare in the game, and weapons were even rarer. Even Wang Yu only had a silver staff. Although this staff was a fake and not worth much, Wang Yu did not want to use it as a sacrifice at all. After all, this weapon was very handy and would be very useful against beast-type monsters. Will this work? Wang Yu took out the fighter's grip and asked. Simba said, yes. As long as you're not afraid of your weapon getting covered in dust, I don't mind. Damn. Wang Yu cursed. His meaning was clear. Don't try to fool me with trash unless you want your weapon to become trash. Do I have to spend money to buy one? It's tens of thousands. My wife only earns a few thousand a month. Wang Yu muttered as he rummaged through his backpack. At this time, he suddenly found a large sword. Wang Yu's eyes lit up. He pulled out the large sword and placed it in front of Simba. Will this work? Simba's eyes widened when he saw the large sword in Wang Yu's hand. The inextinguishable afterglow warblade. This is Ertis' weapon. How do you have it? This large sword was the gold weapon that was not sold the last time. I got it from the boss. Wang Yu said, how about it? Will it work? Simba looked at Wang Yu meaningfully and said, sure, give me the weapon. I'll pick it up in 2 hours. 2 hours? Wang Yu looked at the time. It will be 12 in an hour. Of course. This is an artifact upgrade. The process is very complicated. If you think it's too long, I have a set of simple and quick methods. However, I can't guarantee the success rate. All right. Wang Yu quickly interrupted. 2 hours it is then. Don't skimp on the work. Oof. You're doubting the personality of the god of crafts. Wang Yu hurriedly said, I don't dare. At the same time, he thought, what kind of personality does a stupid NPC have? I'm doubting the personality of all the NPCs in this game. After passing the weapon to Simba, Wang Yu sat at the side and waited quietly. Suddenly, his friend's list flashed. Chapter 73. Guess who I am? After Wang Yu accepted Feather Immortal's friend request, Feather Immortal sent him a message. Wang Yu smiled and said, I guess you're not my wife. As expected of a married couple, their naming skills were equally inept. Wang Yu originally wanted to call her Immortal Feather. Mu Zixin just switched it around. Haha, where are you? Mu Zixin asked. Yu Huicheng is at the blacksmith shop. What about you? What level are you? I'm at Novice Village 0610, Luminous Village. I'm level 8 now. Mu Zixin said. Level 8? So fast. Wang Yu was shocked. One had to know that even someone as strong as Wang Yu took a day to go from level 1 to level 10. Hee, I know where to level up the fastest. There's even an expert to guide you. Mu Zixin smiled. Wang Yu heard this, and his eyes turned cold. He asked cautiously, Expert? What expert? As a customer service employee, Mu Zixin knew where to level up the fastest. However, to be able to farm monsters so efficiently, she definitely wasn't an ordinary person. Seeing his wife playing so happily with other experts in the game, Wang Yu suddenly felt a bit uneasy. Look at you, the expert is a woman. Mu Zixin naturally felt Wang Yu's uneasiness. She smiled and scolded. Hurry up and help this old lady pass a quest. Wang Yu was speechless. I'm already level 18, I can't pass. In Rebirth, after reaching level 10, players would leave the Novice Village. After leaving the Novice Village, they couldn't return. After all, there were so many Novice villages and only 300 main cities. The teleportation circle didn't have a Novice Village number that indicated the location. Mu Zixin said, Others can't pass, but you can. I'll show you the way. And okay, wait for me. Wang Yu stood up and walked towards the teleportation array according to Mu Zixin's instructions. Luminous Village was part of Dark Knight City's territory. After exiting Dark Knight City, one had to head north and pass through a level 40 monster zone. Novice Village 0610 was just around the corner. Ordinary players might not have such a concept, but as a customer service employee, Mu Zixian had a thorough understanding of the game's map. Dark Knight City's monsters were mostly undead creatures, such as zombies and skeletons. Compared to Yu Huicheng, they were much more unique. Fortunately, Luminous Village was very close to the main city. After avoiding a few waves of vampire bats, Wang Yu finally arrived at Luminous Village half an hour later. Fortunately, this was in the game. Otherwise, traveling across cities on foot would take a few days and nights. When he arrived at Luminous Village, Mu Zixian had already been waiting for a long time. Behind her was an archer. Seeing Mu Zixian, Wang Yu tugged at Mu Zixian's clothes in confusion and asked, "Why did you choose the knight profession?" A knight was a tank profession. What was a tank? It was a profession that specialized in getting beaten up. For women, playing as a priest or mage was enough. At the very least, playing as a warlock was fine. Playing as a knight was something for men. With my skills, I can't play as a DPS profession. At least playing as a knight or something won't be as easy to kill. Mu Zixian said honestly. Wang Yu was speechless. If a tank's skills aren't good, then it won't be just one person dying. Mu Zixian laughed. Haha, I'm just playing around. I don't plan on being the best in the world. Wasn't that right? The wife of the best player in the game was an existence above the best player in the game. Only a girl wouldn't be interested in being the best in the game. Haha, that's true. Wang Yu laughed and scratched the back of his head. He looked at the archer behind Mu Zixian and asked, "This girl is the expert you were talking about?" There were many experts in Rebirth, but all Wang Yu had seen were men. There were very few female experts. The girl walked over and said, "Brother Yu, I'm Little Yang." Little Yang? It can't be. How did you change your appearance? Wang Yu said in surprise. When creating a character in the game, you can change your appearance. Sister Xian and I have already changed our appearance. Can't you tell? Yang Na said. Wang Yu said, "We are an old couple. I don't need to look at our faces. I can recognize them based on my feelings." Oh! Yang Na looked at the happy couple and nodded. Then let's go for the quest. All right. What quest? Wang Yu asked. At the same time, he was puzzled. If he guessed correctly, Yang Na was also a kung fu expert. What quest in a novice village would be difficult for her? A-rank quest, Dark Knight Soul. Yang Na said and shared the quest with Wang Yu. System notification. You have shared the quest Dark Knight Soul. Quest rank A. Eliminate evil for the people. Kill the Big Jack-Lantern boss 0 to 1. Can be completed in a party of 3. A-rank quest. Is it also a hidden quest? Wang Yu asked. Mu Zixian said, "That's right. There are 7 hero legacy quests in the game. Dark Knight Soul is one of them, just like Heart of the Brave. Heart of the Brave seems to be S rank, but this is only A rank," Wang Yu mumbled. They were both hidden professions, but the difference was too big. In the game, S-rank quests meant that they could not be completed. A-rank quests represented the highest difficulty. Although it was only 1 rank, the difference in difficulty was too big. Maybe there are differences between hidden professions, Mu Zixian said. She was a customer service member. The highest authority she had was to know the name of the quest. If it wasn't for someone triggering Dark Knight Soul during the closed beta, she probably wouldn't even know this. The leveling area outside of Luminous Village was called Place of Darkness. There were ghost bats and one-eyed monsters all over the place. The deepest part of Place of Darkness was called Dark Forest. Dark Forest was where Jack's lanterns spawned. Jack's lanterns were strangely shaped. They had no limbs, only a big head that floated back and forth in the dark. Compared to the wild wolves in the Dawn Plains, they were a lot weirder. Wang Yu's level was enough to suppress these low-level monsters. He charged all the way to where the boss spawned. It was a swamp. Just like the Silver Wolf Warriors and Silver Wolf Guards, there were 12 special monsters. There were 8 Jack-o'-lanterns Warriors and 4 Jack-o'-lanterns Guards. They were all level 10 monsters. Wang Yu could easily deal with them alone before he left the novice village. Now he had help. Soon, the 12 guard monsters were cleared. Yang Na came over and said to Wang Yu, "I heard from Sister Xian that Brother Yu is a kung fu expert. It seems like it's true. These monsters are all elite monsters. Even high-level players would find it hard to deal with them. Brother Yu actually dealt with them so easily." Wang Yu turned around and looked at Yang Na. He smiled and said, "You're not bad either. You've been practicing kung fu since you were young." Although Yang Na deliberately avoided being a grandmaster of combat and chose an archer, and even deliberately hid it during battle, a grandmaster like Wang Yu could tell that this lady's skills were not ordinary. After all, it was a habit of many years. She couldn't hide it just because she wanted to. You must be joking. I don't know anything about kung fu," Yang Na said hurriedly. "Is that so?" Wang Yu asked coldly. "Of course. Otherwise, I would have chosen Grandmaster of Combat like you, brother Yu," Yang Na replied. Hee hee. Wang Yu laughed lightly and didn't say anything else. Chapter 74. Just as Mu Zixin finished speaking, a bubble came out of the swamp. A huge head came out of the swamp. It was dirty and had a rotten smell. It was very disgusting. This game designer has such a heavy taste. He could have just spawned it. Wang Yu complained. Not long ago, he thought it was unscientific to spawn monsters from the cracks in the rocks. Jack's Lantern 25, Boss, Elite, HP, 30,000 MP, 5,000 skills, Fear, Life Drain, Teleportation, Nightfall. This was a free mode mage boss. As soon as it spawned, Wang Yu swung his staff at it. The Jack's Lantern swayed slightly and suddenly disappeared. When it reappeared, it was behind Wang Yu, opening its mouth to bite. Wang Yu felt the Jack's Lantern's presence. Without looking back, he bent over and kicked the Jack's Lantern's face. He then switched to his gloves and was about to follow up with a burst punch. However, the Jack's Lantern cackled. Wang Yu's body involuntarily ran backward. This was the legendary fear effect. The system did not care if you were truly afraid. If it said you were feared, then you were feared. Seemingly having sensed Wang Yu's power, Jack-o'-lantern quickly fled after fearing Wang Yu. He flew to Yang Na's side. Upon seeing this, Yang Na's figure flashed, and she dodged sideways. At the same time, she knocked an arrow and shot it into Jack-o'-lantern's single eye. Crack! The Jack's Lantern screamed and chased after Yang Na. Yang Na did not panic. She retreated while shooting. At this time, Yang Na was less than 3 meters away from the Jack's Lantern. Arrow after arrow, she never missed. Every time the Jack's Lantern was about to bite her, she took a wrong step and dodged just in time. Seeing this, Wang Yu could not help but sneer. Although Yang Na's dodging was not big, Wang Yu's eyes were sharp. He could tell at a glance that it was the Yang family's unique footwork, 7 steps, star constellation. Yang Na was also using free mode. Otherwise, how could an archer, a kiting profession, dare to engage in such close combat with the enemy? There was no system correction in manual mode, so naturally, his aim would not be too accurate. However, he was able to guarantee a hit rate from a distance of 3 meters. Moreover, even an Olympic archery champion wouldn't be able to accurately counterattack while dodging, let alone with the help of the system. Lantern Jack originally thought that Yang Na was an archer with low HP and was caught off guard. Teleportation's cooldown was over, so he immediately cast a fear and flashed to Mu Zixin's side. Mu Zixin was the kind of player that relied on data. She was good at talking, but in a real fight, she was not even a match for Li Shui and the others. When she saw this terrifying guy coming to bite her, she screamed, clutched her head, and squatted on the ground. After missing its target, Jack the Lantern's eyes flashed. A green light shot out from its body, head, and connected with Mu Zixin. As Mu Zixin's HP plummeted, Jack-Lantern's HP that had been knocked down by Yang Na rapidly recovered. Bang! Just as Mu Zixin was about to be sucked to death, a staff flew over and pushed Jack the Lantern back a few steps. The forced movement interrupted life drain. Without waiting for Jack the Lantern to stabilize himself, Wang Yu quickly caught up. He caught the staff with both hands and planted on the ground. His feet flew up, and he stomped on Jack the Lantern's face. Bang! Jack the Lantern was kicked far away. The designer probably didn't know that Thunder Stamp could be used in such a way. Dash 2245 The Power of Lightning had a suppressive effect on darkness-type monsters. Wang Yu's high skill completion also caused a stun effect. A circle of stars appeared on Jack the Lantern's head. After sending Lantern Jack flying, Wang Yu did not stop there. She swung her staff and smashed it down, blocking Lantern Jack-Lantern's path of retreat. The armor break effect, combined with the high damage, caused Lantern Jack-Lantern to be unable to retaliate. At this time, Yang Na's fear effect also ended. She stood behind Wang Yu and shot arrow after arrow. Not long after, Jack-the-Lantern's HP fell to 30%. Ga. Jack-the-Lantern's HP fell to 30% and suddenly teleported. Seeing this, Wang Yu and Yang Na quickly retreated, protecting Mu Zixi behind them. Ga. Jack-the-Lantern's eerie laughter came from above. The three looked up and saw a cloud of black mist shrouding their heads. Yang Na raised her bow and shot, but found that physical attacks had no effect. The black mist was getting closer and closer to the three. Wang Yu spun the staff in his hand and knocked Yang Na out of range. He then rolled on the ground and dodged. At the same time, he activated Cloud Grasp and dragged Mu Zixi out. Yang Na rubbed the back of her waist that was knocked by Wang Yu and glared at Wang Yu. He was so gentle to his own wife, but used his staff to hit other girls. What kind of person was this guy? He was too inhuman. Wang Yu ignored Yang Na and hit the black mist with a telekinesis wave. The black mist was knocked back, and then he followed it up with a horizontal thunder step. This should be called Thunder Kick. After being hit by two of Wang Yu's skills, the black mist weakened a little. It quickly avoided Wang Yu and floated to the two girls. Cloud Grass cooldown was also over. Wang Yu casually patted and a white gas rolled out, pulling the black mist back. The Grandmaster of Combat skills had short cooldowns, and the activation time was low. Wang Yu only used these three magic attack skills back and forth, but they were connected seamlessly. Under the watchful eyes of the two girls, the black fog was finally beaten into a puff of black smoke, a unique characteristic of dead dark creatures. And then a bunch of things fell from the sky. Yang Na walked up and picked up the dropped items. She only took a token and handed the rest to Wang Yu. Wang Yu accepted it without hesitation. Jack's Soul, Staff, Silver, Attack, 12-19 mana, 30 to 457 intelligence, 3 spirit life drain. Creates a spirit chain that absorbs life. While dealing damage to the target, it heals the user. Lasts for 5 seconds. Cannot be moved. Silence. Silence the target for 3 seconds. Class requirement. Priest. Mage level requirement. 15 fear. Rare skill. Uses the power of darkness to fear target, causing the target to flee in fear. Lasts for 5 seconds. Class requirement. Dark Warlock Darkness Descent. Rare skill. The user's body turns into a black mist, immune to physical damage, and can fly in the air. Deals 70 magic damage to targets within the mist. The staff's main attributes were average, but it had 2 controllable skills that could be used to deal damage and recover health. It was a rare item. The 2 skill books were even more difficult to buy with money, especially the Darkness Descends. Not only was it immune to physical attacks, it could also allow one to fly. Even a noob like Wang Yu could tell that this was definitely a rare item. Mu Zixi tugged at Wang Yu and sent him a private message. This is Yang's quest. She also helped a lot. Why did you take all of it? Wang Yu replied, taking someone's money to get rid of a disaster. Besides, she doesn't lack these things. Seeing Mu Zixian's awkward expression, Yang Na smiled and said, Sister Xian, don't worry about it. My goal is to kill Jack's lantern and this class change token. I don't need anything else. See, I told you. Wang Yu said, Mu Zixian was slightly helpless. She understood Wang Yu's temper very well. She was magnanimous and wouldn't be startled by anything. She had never seen Wang Yu target someone like this before. After cleaning up the battlefield, Wang Yu looked at the time. There was still 10 minutes before the event started. So he said to the two, I have to hurry back. Okay, go on. Mu Zixi nodded. The two of them had been together for a long time, so they didn't mind being together for a while. Yang Na said, let's add each other as friends. Saying that, she sent a friend request. After Wang Yu accepted it, he sent a private message. I don't care what your motive is, but let me tell you, don't do anything to Sister Xian. I'm not running away because I'm afraid, but because I don't want to make things difficult for everyone. Do you understand? Chapter 75. Seeing Mu Zixian and Yang Na celebrating the completion of the quest, Wang Yu's heart was filled with gloom. Mu Zixian was a naive woman who trusted others easily. Wang Yu had told her to stay away from Yang Na, but for some reason, the two of them still got together, showing off her husband's kung fu. What a silly girl. Of course, he couldn't rule out the possibility that Yang Na had lured Wang Yu out. After all, Wang Yu was currently the #1 player in the game. When someone asked, "Why is your husband so strong?" knowing kung fu might be a good reason. Women always had a bit of vanity. Thinking of this, Wang Yu suddenly realized that Yang Na had asked Mu Zixian for help. After all, with Yang Na's ability, as long as she avoided the final skill of the boss, she could definitely solo the boss. Wang Yu thought, maybe she's the same as me, trying to test me. However, when Wang Yu saw that Yang Na had confirmed his identity, he felt a lot more at ease. At least this girl had no ill intentions. Otherwise, with the Yang and Wang family's abilities, people would have come looking for them already. How could they play the game in peace? Since she also wanted to play the game in peace, then he would treat her as an online friend. You can touch me, but don't provoke Mu Zixian. They were all martial artists, so he believed that no one would doubt Wang Yu's ability. The three returned to the village. Mu Zixian and Yang Na had to submit their quest and complete the village quest. Wang Yu directly sent a message back to Yu Huicheng. The village could be teleported directly to the main city. Returning to the tavern, the people from Xiwanjin had been waiting for a long time. The 7 of them were chatting around the table, and Li Shui and the other 3 were sitting at the table next to them. Seeing Wang Yu walk in, Mingdu was the first to greet him. "Old cow, where did you go this time? Did you go help us find girls again?" Xiwanjin had been in the game for so many years. Other than the legendary first and second generation leaders, there had never been a female player. Wang Yu could summon 4 with a wave of his hand. It was obvious that Mingdu viewed him as a god. Wang Yu walked over and pulled Mingdu up from the bench. Then, he sat down and said, "You're always spouting nonsense. You want to pick up a girl just because you're helping her with her mission? Why is your heart so dirty? Fuck, you really want to hook up with women? Give me your wife's phone number. I'm going to report you." Everyone was amazed. Mingdu was just joking, but he was right. There were many girls in the game. Why can't I touch it? Did I open the game in the wrong way? Thinking of this, everyone's astonishment turned into contemplation. What do you mean by hooking up? It's just helping someone complete a quest and kill a boss. My wife asked me to go. Wang Yu said. Wuji smiled and said, Sistanyo also plays games? What's your name? I'm helping her level up. Get lost. Wang Yu glared at Wuji fiercely. There was no difference between a name and a phone number in the game. Wang Yu was not stupid to give his wife's ID to an old pervert like Wuji. Right. How did you arrange for these girls? Wang Yu looked at the girls beside him and asked. Wuji said, "Of course they're in charge of logistics and supplies. They're professional players. We provide materials, and they provide skills. It's a win-win situation, and it's mutually beneficial." Oh, they agreed? Of course. Our Qiuanjin has special resources. We'll develop it together, and we'll earn money together. With so much money, a few people won't be able to earn it all. Wuji said. Brilliant. Wang Yu gave a thumbs up and was very satisfied with Wuji's arrangements. As expected of a guild leader, he understood everything when it came to doing business. If it was Wang Yu, he would definitely be at a loss. If it wasn't for meeting famous Sword Daoxue as soon as he entered the game, he would probably be scammed even when he was selling equipment. At the same time, Wang Yu was also very happy that the girls could find a better way out. Although the salary of a gold farming member was not low, it was still hard work. Being a technical player was much easier than being a hard worker. So why not? As they were talking, Molly suddenly walked over with a glass of wine in her hand. She walked up to Bao San with a flushed face and said, "Third brother, thank you for saving my life just now. This glass of wine is a toast to you." The people of Qiuanjin were instantly stunned, and they all looked at Bao San. There was a story behind this. Bao San's expression was more confused than anyone else's. Killing people and saving people was a common occurrence in the game. He could just say thank you at the time. There was really no need to specifically thank him. It's nothing. If you want to thank someone, thank Brother Iron Ox. Bao San said, a little bewildered. Molly was still blushing as she said, it's not the same. I'm friends with Brother Yu in real life, and he should save me. You're the first boy to block a knife for me. All right. Bao San was stunned for a moment, and he reached out to take the glass and drank it in one gulp. Thank you. Molly took the glass back and looked at Bao San affectionately before returning to her seat. Only Bao San was still standing there in a daze, and he had not recovered from his shock. The others had also recovered from their shock. This girl was going to chase after Bao San. Wang Yu's awkwardness was about to act up, and he whispered to Wu Ji, let's meet at the encampment next time. It's fine if we're on the same side, but I'm so embarrassed in public. To place one's pride was playing with a gold coin, and he also came over and jeered from the side. That's right, Wu Ji. At least if you have a love rival, you can ask for a duel on the spot. You can't do that here, and you'll have to pay if you break the table. Tisk. Wu Ji sneered in disdain, and he took a sip of his wine. That girl probably has no chance. Oh. Everyone was slightly stunned, and Ming Jian Daoxue asked in a gossipy manner, Boss Wu Ji, you're still so confident. Wu Ji was speechless. What are you guys thinking? It's not what you think. I know Bao San the best. He's born the year of the dog, and he won't change a tree even if he wants a pee. Chun Xiang laughed. I know about this. Bao San drank too much last time, and in order to pee under the tree that he often pees under, he broke his front tooth while climbing the platform. Hearing this, everyone was amazed. Bao San was really a person with character. Yin Lao Air rubbed his chin and mumbled, so, Boss Wu Ji, you're more confident in Bao San? Believe me, a man's heart will always become. Damn you, Wu Ji cursed. Is this fun for you guys? Bao San is my younger brother, all right. Everyone, this was really big news. Bao San heard Wu Ji's yell, and he sat down to explain. That's right, we're brothers, but one is with my father, and the other is with my mother. I see. Everyone took a closer look at the two of them, and indeed, there were some similarities. But back then, they all thought that they were husband and wife. Who would have thought that the two of them had this kind of relationship? But in today's society, this kind of thing was not rare. Ming Jian Daoxue mumbled, TSK, romance novels have always been about brothers. Daoxue has this kind of taste. As expected, Chuanjin was not an ordinary person. It's okay to be a single-parent family. There's no need to feel inferior. Chun Xiang comforted Bao San. This lady is quite pretty. I've read her fortune, and she brings good fortune to her husband. Bao San has a girlfriend, but that woman doesn't want him anymore. Wu Ji said coldly. Sai, this child is really far from me. Is that so? You have a girlfriend? Wang Yu asked in surprise. Chapter 76. Just as everyone was gossiping about Bao San's love life, the system suddenly sent out an announcement. The Spring Festival event has begun. The specific rules and regulations of the event have been sent to all players' backpacks. A row of huge words appeared, shocking everyone. It was repeated 3 times. At the same time, all the players in the game received a notification. System notification. You have received the Spring Festival Event Handbook. The reason why the Spring Festival event was so grand was actually very simple. From the 24th of the 12th lunar month to the first day of the first lunar month, all monsters in the server would have a triple EXP drop rate. In addition, there would be a special monster called Nian in the leveling area. There were 3 types of Nian: Nian Baby, Nian Beast, and Nian Boss. Killing Nian Beasts not only gave various rewards, but also points. After the event, according to the points system, the top 10 players in the server would receive a special reward. System notification. Nian Beasts are very strong. It is recommended to form a party. It is not easy to level up, so cherish it. After reading the event handbook, Mingji and Daoxue aside, the price of equipment is going to drop. Iron Ox, do you have any more inventory? Hurry up and deal with them, the others nodded. The mainstream equipment was still iron equipment, and silver equipment was still rare. The Spring Festival event had a triple EXP drop rate, so it was definitely time for equipment to be updated. The rarer something was, the greater its value. When bronze equipment became the mainstream, the price of silver equipment would definitely drop drastically. Wang Yu shook his head. I've long since run out. Wang Yu had always been the type to sell the equipment he obtained, not even bothering to bargain. Speaking of which, how are we going to do this event? Wang Yu turned his gaze to Wuji. Wuji was the one who had the most ideas in this group. He would always use the least amount of manpower to maximize the profits. There's no point in having a full server drop rate. Let's go alone. The chances of encountering the Nian boss will be higher, Wuji said. All right, let's split up. Wang Yu stood up and walked out first, followed by Brother Chun, Yin Lao Er, and Mingjian Daoxue. The three of them followed closely behind. After the four of them left, Wuji sat there drinking by himself. He had no intention of leaving. Bao San, who had always been with him, also sat there without moving. Mingdu's face lit up with joy. To place one's pride, a wretched smile appeared on his face as he watched Wang Yu walk away. He then ran over to the four girls' table and asked, Big sis, do you want me to take you to level up? That's right, that's right. 4 against 4, men and women working together won't be tiring. Youth is still young, don't waste it. Mingdu agreed. In truth, the girls were quite willing to train with these 4 people. After all, they were from the same guild. Moreover, all 4 of them were great experts. However, when they saw the expressions on the two's faces, the girls hesitated. To place one's pride, and Mingdu's hearts skipped a beat when they saw the girls' expressions. They thought to themselves, oh no, I was too enthusiastic and scare the girls. The 2 of them looked at Wuji tragically. Wuji chuckled and pointed at Bao San. Bao San also wants to train with you guys. The girls looked at Molly. Molly nodded and said, all right, let's go to the guild encampment to train. We can also get some lime powder or something along the way. After leaving the tavern, Wang Yu's group of 4 split up. After all, different classes and preferences suited different monsters. Warlocks liked close-range attacks, warriors liked low-health monsters, assassins liked long-range monsters, and Wang Yu liked humanoid monsters. At this time, because of the Spring Festival event, even the professional players who usually stayed indoors had left the city. In an instant, the outskirts of the city were filled with people. Wang Yu passed through the crowd and headed straight for the Sunset Mountains. When Wang Yu came here to do a quest yesterday, he discovered that there were also humanoid monsters here, and they gave quite a lot of experience. Soon, Wang Yu encountered his first monster. Wandering Musketeer, LV. 31,000 skills, musket shot whip. This was a very Western-style monster. The Musketeer's whip skill wasn't an attack skill, but a semi-grab type of control skill. If you weren't careful, you would be caught by the Musketeer's whip and then headshot. The damage of the Musketeer was very high, and it had a critical hit attribute. Normal players would not be able to withstand a few hits. However, this was not a problem for Wang Yu. The Musketeer's skills were so weak in the eyes of a fighter like Wang Yu. It would be strange if the whip could control Wang Yu. Wang Yu dodged the whip and cut into the Musketeer's chest. With a few punches and kicks, he turned the Musketeer into white light. While gaining experience, Wang Yu also obtained a bronze-grade Musketeer. Wandering Musketeer, bronze, secondary weapon, attack, 27-35 mana, 0-07 agility, 3 strength weak point attack, 30% chance of critical damage. Level requirement. One looking at the Musketeer's description, Wang Yu was very surprised. He did not think that the Musketeer would drop a secondary weapon. Secondary weapons were a setting in Rebirth. This was because, apart from the Retribution Paladin's 2-handed spear and the fighter's glove, most professions used a one-handed weapon. Therefore, the secondary hand would be free to equip some light weapons. At the current stage of the game, one could buy throwing knives, shurikens, and other throwing secondary weapons in Yu Huiqing's blacksmith shop. The higher end would be the light crossbow. However, high-end secondary weapons were very rare. Wang Yu had only seen Mingjian Shui use it. However, his light crossbow was only in normal white equipment, and its attack power was far inferior to this musketeer. Strictly speaking, musketeers in Rebirth belonged to archers. However, players at level 15 would have a firearms proficiency talent, which could be used by any profession. Therefore, musketeers were considered rare secondary weapons. The 3 times drop rate was indeed a well-deserved reputation. Normally, even if Wang Yu was soloing, the chances of obtaining a bronze equipment from a small monster would be extremely low, let alone such a rare secondary weapon. With a good start, Wang Yu's spirits were lifted, and he put in a lot of effort when farming monsters. The level 30 monster area was deserted. Other than the bang-bang sounds of gunfire, it was still quite quiet. However, the drop rate of this secondary weapon was a little too low. Wang Yu had farmed dozens of musketeers, and only 5 of them had dropped. Moreover, other than the bronze one, the rest were all steel. Even so, Wang Yu was quite satisfied. It must be known that the price of a high-end secondary weapon was not cheaper than a normal rare skill book. This was also under the 3 times drop rate. Otherwise, it would not even be able to drop a white one. After dealing with the musketeer in his hands, Wang Yu was just about to rest for a while when he suddenly heard a very strange sound. It sounded like a wolf's howl, but it also sounded like a dog's. Hearing this sound, Wang Yu was delighted. It's an yen. After playing the game for so long, Wang Yu also knew that there was a strict distinction between humanoid monsters and bestial monsters. Other than in dungeons, in wild maps where humanoid monsters could be found, bestial monsters would definitely not appear. Once the 2 types of monsters were together, there was no need for players to do anything. They would fight each other first. Rebirth, as company called it. This is the game's monster AI. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.